I'm so fucking done with this. Finally! I'm sorry, I'm so done. Nothing has worked for me today. I have had a most terrible start to the stream. Oh my god. It's been so terrible. Guys, it's been so fucking terrible. So my internet wasn't working. And then my internet wasn't fucking working. So I had to full restart my router and everything. And my modem. And then my OBS wasn't working. And then my drivers need to be updated, and then my VTube studio wasn't working, and then it's okay, it's fine, we're Gucci. How are you guys doing today, guys? I see nothing's working. I have to reload everything. Look, nothing is working. Everything hates me. It's okay. I do the head pats. Thank you for head pats. I had to do it manually because I fucked it up. Hey guys, how are we doing today? I missed you all. It's been like 2-ish days. I hope you guys enjoyed the little Discord night. Yeah, a little bat on my head to celebrate the spooky season. Do you like him? What should you name him? His name is Bruce. Bruce! Yeah, his name is Bruce. Okay. Sorry, I'm just setting up everything, making sure everything fucking works for once. That is so fine. Hey yo, thank you so much for the resub for us for 7 months. Yeah, thank you so much, dear. Is the audio okay? If I have this in the background, is it like too loud? Let me know. And for us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's insane. Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you for the 7 months. I really appreciate it. I sound good? Okay, thank you. I'm glad. Thank you so much, Iggy, for redeeming first, Laughing Devil for redeeming second, and then also for redeeming third. Yo, dear, welcome in, Iggy. Hello, Earl. Laughing Devil, Comrade Forge. Yo, how are you doing today? Welcome in. Anon, thanks for dropping by. Tucker. Yo, 3 months in a row. Thank you so much for the resub, my dear. 1, 2, and 3. There you go. Thank you so much. But being early gang, ayo. Thank you so much for being patient with me, guys, while I sort out all the stupid audio issues. I really appreciate the patience. Also, how are you doing, love? News Burrito, hello. Spoonie, welcome in. Ramtam, Rick, Nano, Kafgul, welcome in. Vizon, how are we doing today, guys? You caught one of my ASMR streams, yeah. This is not one of our traditional ASMR ones, so I'm gonna be doing some reading for you guys today. So I hope you guys are all tucked in, all good and safe. I do have a little bat on my head to celebrate the spooky season. Foo, welcome in. Anyone else for us? Thanks for dropping by, love. Thank you for the head pats, Iggy. All good, glad you're feeling better. I know, it's just a little bit of... I feel like I have to fight, like, all the technology every single time I stream, and it's just like, I just want to fucking stream, you know? Hi, Dark as well, how are you doing?
Hello there.
Welcome in. Hello there. Oh, my alerts are not supposed to be up. Hello there, ayo. And Nia Esme, welcome in, my dear. How are you doing today? Thanks for dropping by. And Typhus, thanks for redeeming I'm new. Welcome in, dear. What else do we have? Okay, so let me ask, mods, do we have the second clue up yet? I think we're supposed to release the second clue today. We're a little bit behind on everything. Okay. So we're going to be releasing the second clue today. If you didn't know, I'm hosting a little bit of a murder mystery in the Discord. Hi, my love. How are you, Taloki? How are you doing, love? I'm doing well. I hope you are as well. We're going to be releasing the clue after stream, so keep in store for that. But over over the course of the month, we're going to be releasing clues about the potential murderer, the murderer of, I guess, who killed me. So it's going to be a little bit of a murder mystery. Darkness gets a treat. I am Darkness. Mwah. There you go. Thank you for redeeming Trick or Treat. And hello there, thank you so much for the follow. Zigabe? Oh my god. Let me know how you'd like me to pronounce that for you, dear. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. So today we're going to be reading Bram Stoker's Dracula. So this will be a little bit different because it's going to be a longer one. So I'll be taking breaks probably every chapter or between like sections. I've only read the first part of this book, but I thought it'd be nice to have like a proper story time. Matt, how you doing, love? Yeah, long story. It's by long story, like this is a long one, and I'm like 100%. I'm 100% not going to finish it on stream. So I was wondering if you guys really liked this book, maybe I could record like a whole audiobook for this, just because the domain for this particular book is free because it's just old. If you really liked it. I also have a Patreon if you're interested, where we do a lot of other ASMR audio things, so feel free to check that out and let me know at the end of this, I guess, if you were interested in something like that, question mark, and I would love to do that for y'all. So what do you think about music in the background, or would it be better if there was no music while I was reading? What do you think? If I do like chapter 1, Jonathan Harker's journal, 3rd of May, Bistritz, left bit, is that too maybe creepy music? Isn't there already music? Can you guys hear it? Is it too soft? Music in the background? Yeah, what do you guys think about music in the background? If you're doing audiobooks, that'd be really cool. I love reading so much. It's not creepy though. How creepy do you want it to be? What the fuck? So I have like a free mix. Any background needs to not be overpowering. I have music on right now if it's not too loud. What do you guys think? I can just turn it off though. I think it's good. I always have quiet background music playing, so I'd say it's good. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. If you're interested, I have uploaded a short story. What did I have? Short story? It was... Let me find the link for it. It's pretty soft. Yeah, it's this one. I read The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, if you would like a little bit of a sneak peek into what the audiobook might be like, question mark. But yeah. Okay, maybe I'll change it because I'm not, this background music, I'm not really feeling it. My wife is a librarian. We have like 10 bookshelves. Oh, that's so sweet. That's super cute. Oh my gosh, I really want to get back into collecting like physical books again, because I feel like, I don't know, I've been really into having like a, what is it called? Like physical copies, being able to, oh, maybe the Persona video? Sorry, I just turned the light on. I have this one. This is only an hour though. The Persona one, 10-hour Persona mix. I was like, I kind of want it to be like longer, aesthetic. It's so good. I'm glad you like it. Okay, fine. We'll do the Persona. Persona 5. Beneath the mask. Rainy mood beneath the mask. 10 hours. Hey, yo. You know I love a 10-hour. And there's rain in the back too. Okay, perfect. I have some iced coffee with me today. The mood is so cozy. Okay. Is that loud enough for you guys? Do you want me to bump it up a little bit? And Fluffy, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. Have I ever told you about that time where I used to work in fast food and someone came through the drive-thru and was like, can I please have a McFluffy? And I was like, for you? Absolutely. Absolutely, yes, I can get you a McFluffy. I'll never forget. It was so cute. She's like, can I please have a McFluffy? And I was like, Absolutely. What's a McFluffy? Like a McFlurry? But she said it McFluffy, and I was like, I'm not gonna tell her that the McFluffy is a McFlurry. I'm not gonna rain on her parade like that. And I was like, you know what? Yes, you can have a McFluffy. And then when she came to the window, I was like, okay. Oh, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Here's your McFluffy. Who am I to tell her that it's not a McFluffy? You know, who am I? I just work there. Dog treat for McFlurry. I thought it was a play on Pup Cup. No, is it? I think it's just McFlurry. I don't know what a McFluffy is. I'm a McFluffy. If you want to be, left, if you want to be. Okay, so. Okay. So before we begin, make sure you guys get all comfy. We're going to be reading today Dracula, so it's going to be a little bit longer one. Let me know at the end or during the middle if you are vibing with it. I'd love to do a full one for you, and thank you for deeming it. Ooh, ooh. And I won't be able to reply to you guys or answer your messages until after or between chapters, or in like, I don't know, after big parts, I don't know. Hey yo, thank you so much for the follow, Fever. Welcome dear. So that's just a little bit of a, before I begin, I'm so sorry, Tucker. McFluffy is literally frozen papa. Is it? Happy trick-or-treating, Tucker. We've given Spoonie too much power. Before I begin, I'd like to thank my mods, my mum. She gave me some snacks yesterday. It was great seeing her. What are you going to be reading? It's my first time here. Oh, okay. So, usually we do short form stories. We've read like SCPs, creepypastas, /no sleep sort of stuff, short stories, short form, that sort of stuff. But today we're going to be reading a longer one. So we're reading the classic horror tale of Bram Stoker's Dracula. So it will be a longer one. We probably won't be able to finish it, like we will not finish it on stream, so let me know if you guys would like to see a full version of it outside of this. 7 lineup, thank you so much for the follow, welcome. I won't be able to thank you guys for your follows and stuff as well until later. Do we have a link? Yeah, I have a link for it. I'm allowed to share this because it is free domain. It's Spoopy month. Yeah, I'm really excited. So if you would like to follow along, there is the link. I got my glasses on. We're doing good. Okay, shall we begin? Dracula by Bram Stoker. Chapter 1. Jonathan Harker's journal. 3rd of May, Bistritz. Left Munich at 8:35 p.m. On 1st of May, arriving at Vienna early next morning. Should have arrived at 6:46. Train was an hour late. Budapest seems like a wonderful place. From the glimpse which I got of it from the train and the little I could walk through the streets, I feared to go very far from the station as we had arrived late and would start at near the correct time as possible. The impression I had was that we were leaving the west and entering the east, the most western of splendid bridges over the Danube, which is here of noble width and depth, took us among the traditions of Turkish rule. We left in pretty good time, and came after nightfall to Klausenberg. Here I stopped for the night at a Hotel Royal. I had dinner, or rather supper, a chicken done up some way with red pepper, which was very good, but thirsty. Memoir. Get a recipe for Mina. I asked the waiter, and he said it was called paprika Händel, and that it was a national dish. I should be able to get it anywhere along the Carpathians. I found my smattering of German very useful here indeed. I don't know how I should have been getting on without it. Having had some time at my disposal when in London, I visited the British Museum and made search among the books and maps in the library regarding Transylvania. It struck me that some foreknowledge of the country could hardly fail to have some importance in dealing with the noblemen of that country. I find that this district he named is in the extreme east of the country, just on the borders of 3 states, Transylvania, Moldavia and Bukovina. in the midst of the Carpathian Mountains, one of the wildest and least known portions of Europe. I was not able to light on any map or work given the exact locality of the Castle Dracula, as there are no maps of this country as yet to compare with our own ordained survey maps. But I found that Bistritz, the post town named by Count Dracula, is a fairly well-known place. I shall enter here some of my notes as they may refresh my memory when I talk over my travels with Mina. In the population of Transylvania there are 4 distinct nationalities: Saxons in the south, and mixed with them the Wallachs, who are the descendants of the Dacians, Magyars in the west, and the Sekelis in the east, and north. Why is this so hard to pronounce? Holy shit. Okay. Sky Falling, hello. Kami-sama, welcome in. Tilo, how are we doing? Myriad, you're late. I'm kidding, it's fine. Welcome in, guys. This may be so, for when the Magyars conquered the country in the 11th century, they found the Huns settled in it. I read that every known superstition in the world is gathered into the horseshoe of the Carpathians, as if it were the centre of some sort of imaginative whirlpool. If so, my stay may be very interesting. Mem, I must ask the Count all about them. I did not sleep well, though my bed was comfortable enough, for I had all sorts of queer dreams. There was a dog howling all night under my window, which may have had something to do with it, or it may have been the paprika, for I had to drink up all the water in my carafe and was still thirsty. Towards morning I slept and was wakened by the continuous knocking at my door, so I guess I must have been sleeping soundly then. I had for breakfast more paprika and a sort of porridge of maize flour, which they said was mamalia. An eggplant stuffed with forcemeat, a very excellent dish, which they called impletata. Mem, get recipe for this also. I had to hurry for breakfast, for the train started a little before 8, or rather it ought to have done so, for after rushing to the train station at 7:30, I had to sit in the carriage for more than an hour before we began to move. It seems to me that the further east you go, the more unpunctual are the trains. What ought they be in China? All day long, we seemed to dawdle through the country, which was full of beauty of every kind. Sometimes we saw little towns or castles on the top of the steep hills, such as we see in old missals. Sometimes we ran by rivers and streams, which seemed from the wide stony margin on each side of them to be subject to great floods. It takes a lot of water, and running strong to sweep the outside edge of the river clear. At every station there were groups of people, sometimes crowds, and in all sorts of attire. Some of them were just like the peasants at home, or those I saw coming through France and Germany, with short jackets and round hats and homemade trousers, but others were very picturesque. The women looked pretty, except when you got near them, they were very clumsy about the waist. They had all full white sleeves of some kind or other, and most of them had big belts with lots of strips of something fluttering from them like the dresses in a ballet. But of course there were petticoats underneath them. The strangest figures we saw were the Slovaks, who were more barbarian than the rest, with their big cowboy hats, great baggy, dirty white trousers, white linen shirts, and enormous heavy leather belts, nearly a foot wide, all studded over with brass nails. They wore high boots, with their trousers tucked into them, and had long black hair and heavy black moustaches. They are very picturesque, but do not look prepossessing. On the stage, they would be set down at once as some old oriental band of brigands. They are, however, I am told, very harmless, and rather wanting in natural self-assertion. It was on the dark side of twilight when we got to Bistritz, which is a very interesting old place, being practically on the frontier of the Borgo Pass, leads from it to the Bukovina. It has had a very stormy existence, and it certainly shows marks of it. 50 years ago, a series of great fires took place, which made terrible havoc on 5 separate occasions. At the very beginning of the 17th century, it underwent a siege of 3 weeks and lost 13,000 people, the casualties of war proper being assisted by famine and disease. Count Dracula directed me to go to the Golden Crone Hotel, which I found to my great delight to be thoroughly old-fashioned, for of course I wanted to see all I could of the ways of the country. I was evidently expected, but when I got near the door I faced a cheery-looking elderly woman in the usual peasant dress, white undergarment with a long double apron, front and back, of coloured stuff fitting almost too tight for modesty. When I came close she bowed and said, "The Herr Englishman." "Yes," I said, "Jonathan Harker." She smiled and gave some message to an elderly man in white shirt sleeves who had followed her to the door. He went, but immediately returned with a letter. "My friend, welcome to the Carpathians. I am anxiously expecting you. Sleep well tonight. At 3 tomorrow the diligence will start for Burkovina. A place on it is kept for you. At the Borgo Pass my carriage will await you and will bring you to me. I trust that your journey from London has been a happy one, and that you will enjoy your stay in my beautiful land. Your friend, Dracula." 4th of May. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Morio. Thank you for the follow, dear, and thank you so much for the follow, Jason Black. Welcome in, guys. Thank you so much for redeeming a I'm new guilty person I've never seen before. Vic, welcome in. Who else do we have? Vezon, and have a great dinner, love, and Myriad, welcome in. I'm gonna have a little bit of water. And Jason, thanks for redeeming a cute mascot. Thank you. I like him too. What should we name him? 4th of May. I found that my landlord had got a letter from the Count, directing him to secure the best place on the coach for me, but on making inquiries as to details, he seemed somewhat reticent, and pretended that he could not understand my German. This could not be true, because up to then he had understood it perfectly, at least. He answered my questions exactly as if he did. He and his wife, the old lady who had received me, looked at each other in a frightened sort of way. He mumbled out that the money had been sent in a letter, and that was all he knew. When I asked him if he knew Count Dracula and could tell me anything of his castle, both he and his wife crossed themselves and, saying that they knew nothing at all, simply refused to speak further. It was so near the time of starting that I had no time to ask anyone else, for it was all very mysterious and not by any means comforting. Just before I was leaving, the old lady came up to my room and said in a hysterical way, "Must you go? Oh, young her, must you go?" She was such an excited state that she seemed to have lost grip of what German she knew, and mixed it all up with some other language which I did not know at all. I was just able to follow her up by asking many questions. When I told her that I must go at once, and that I was engaged on important business, she asked again, "Do you know what day it is?" I answered that it was the 4th of May. She shook her head as she said again, "Oh yes, I know that, but did you know what day it is?" On my saying that I did not understand, she went on, "It is the eve of St. George's Day. Did you know that tonight, when the clock strikes midnight, all the evil things in the world will have full sway? Do you know where you are going and what you are going to?" She was in such evident distress that I tried to comfort her, but without full effect. Eventually, she went down on her knees and implored me not to go, at least to wait a day or two before starting. It was all very ridiculous, but I did not feel comfortable. However, there was business to be done, and I could allow nothing to interfere with it. I tried to raise her up, and said gravely as I could that I thanked her, but my duty was imperative and that I must go. She then rose and dried her eyes, and taking a crucifix from her neck, offered it to me. I did not know what to do. As an English churchman, I have been taught to regard such things as in measure idolatrous, and yet it seemed so ungracious to refuse an old lady meaning so well and in such a state of mind. She saw, I suppose, the doubt in my face, for she put the rosemary around my neck and said, "For your mother's sake," and went out of the room. I am writing up this part in the diary whilst I wait for the coach, which is of course late, and the crucifix is still round my neck. Whether it is the old lady's fear, or the many ghostly traditions of this place, or the crucifix itself, I do not know, but I am feeling nearly as easy in my mind as usual. if this book should ever reach Mina before I do, let it bring my goodbye. Ah, here comes the coach. Stars RM, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. And Snap, how are you doing as well? JM Marksman, welcome in. 5th of May. The castle. The grey of the morning has passed, and the sun is high over the distant horizon, which seems jagged. Whether the trees or hills I know not, for it is so far off that big things and little are mixed. I am not sleepy, and as I am not to be called to lie awake, I naturally write till sleep comes. There are many odd things to put down, and lest who reads them may fancy that I dined too well before I left Bistrix, let me put down my dinner exactly. I dined on what they called robber steak, bits of bacon, onion and beef, seasoned with red pepper and strung on sticks, roasted over a fire in the simple style of the London's cat meat. The wine was golden mediac, which produces a queer sting on the tongue, which is, however, not disagreeable. I'd only have a couple of glasses of this and nothing else. While I got on the coach, the driver had not taken a seat, and I saw him talking to the landlady. They were evidently talking of me, for every now and then they looked at me, and some of the people who were sitting on the bench outside the door came and listened. And then they looked at me, most of them pityingly. I could hear a lot of words often repeated. Queer words, for there were many nationalities in the crowd, so I quietly got my polyglot dictionary from my bag and looked them out. I must say they were not cheering for me, for amongst them there were Ordog, Satan, Pokol, Hell, Tregoika, Witch, Vrolak, and Blok. Oh my god, I can't. Koslak. Both mean the same thing, one being Slovak and the other being Servian for something that is either werewolf or vampire. Mem, I must ask the Count about these superstitions. When we started, the crowd around the inn door, which had by this time swelled to a considerable size, all made the sign of the cross and pointed 2 fingers towards me. With some difficulty, I got a fellow passenger to tell me what they meant. He would not answer at first, but on learning that I was English, he explained that it was a charm or guard against the evil eye. This was not very pleasant for me, just starting for an unknown place to meet an unknown man. But everyone seemed so kind-hearted, and so sorrowful, and so sympathetic that I could not but be touched. I shall never forget the last glimpse which I had of the inn yard, and its crowd of picturesque figures, all crossing themselves as they stood round the wide archway, with its background of rich foliage of oleander and orange trees and green tubs clustered in the centre of the yard. And then our driver, whose white linen drawers covered the whole front of the boxy Gotza, they called him, cracked his big whip over his 4 small horses, which ran abreast, and we set off on our journey. I soon lost sight and recollection of ghostly fears and the beauty of the scene as we drove along, although I had known the language, or rather languages, which my fellow passengers were speaking. I might not have been able to throw them off so easily. Before us lay a green sloping land full of forests and woods, with here and there steep hills crowned with clumps of trees or with farmhouses. The blank gable end of the road. There was everywhere a bewildering mass of fruit blossom. Apple, plum, pear, cherry, and as we drove by I could see the green grass under the trees spangled with frozen petals. In and out amongst these green hills of what they call the Mittelland ran the road, losing itself as it swept round the grassy curve and was shut out by the straggling ends of pine woods, which here and there ran down the hillsides like tongues of flame. The road was rugged, but still we seemed to fly over it with a feverish haste. I could not understand then what that haste meant, but the driver was evidently bent on losing no time in reaching the Borgobrand. I was told that this road is in summertime excellent, but that it had not yet been put in order after this winter snows. In this respect, it is different from the general run of the roads in the Carpathians, for it is old tradition that they are not to be kept in too good order. Of old, the Hospodars would not repair them, lest the Turks should think that they were preparing to bring in foreign troops, and so hasten the war which was already really at loading point. Beyond the green swelling hills of the Mittelland rose mighty slopes of forest up to the lofty steppes of the Carpathians themselves. Right and left of us they towered, with the afternoon sun falling full upon them and bringing out all the glorious colours of this beautiful range, deep blue and purple in the shadows of the peaks, green and brown where grass and rocks intermingled, and an endless perspective of jagged rock and pointed crags, till these were themselves lost in the distance, where the snowy peaks rose grandly. Here and there seemed mighty rifts in the mountains, through which, as the sun began to sink, we saw now and again the white gleam of falling water. One of my companions touched my arm as we swept around the base of a hill and opened up the lofty, snow-covered peak of a mountain, which seemed, as we wound on our serpentine way, to be right before us. "Look, it's the Zek, God's seat." And he crossed himself reverently. As we wound on our endless way and the sun sank lower and lower behind us, the shadows of the evening began to creep round us. This was emphasized by the fact that the snowy mountain tops still held the sunset and seemed to glow out with a delicate, cool pink. Here and there we passed the Czechs and Slovaks, all in picturesque attire. But I noticed the goitre was painfully prevalent. By the roadside there were many crosses, and as we swept by, my companions all crossed themselves. Here and there was a peasant man or a woman kneeling before a shrine, who did not even turn round as we approached, but seemed to be in self-surrender of devotion, to have neither eyes nor ears for the outside world. There were many things new to me. For instance, hayricks in the trees, and here and there very beautiful masses of weeping birch, their white stems shining like silver through the delicate green of the leaves. Now and again we passed the lighter wagon, the ordinary peasant's cart with its long snake-like vertebra, calculated to suit the inequalities of the road. On this was sure to be seated quite a group of homecoming peasants, the Czechs with their white and the Slovaks with their coloured sheepskins, the latter carrying lance fashion with their long staves and axe at end. As the evening fell, it began to get very cold, and the growing twilight seemed to merge into one dark mistiness, the gloom of the trees, oak, beech, and pine, though in the valleys which ran deep between the spurs of the hills, as we ascended through the pass. The dark firs stood out here and there against the backgrounds of late-lying snow. Sometimes, as the road was cut through the pine woods that seemed in the darkness to be closing down upon us, great masses of greyness which here and there bestrewed the trees produced a peculiarly weird and solemn effect, which carried on the thoughts of the grim fancies engendered earlier in the evening, when the falling sunset threw into strange relief the ghost-like clouds which amongst the Carpathians seemed to wind ceaselessly through the valleys. Sometimes the hills were so steep that despite our driver's haste, the horses could only go slowly. I wished to get down and walk up to them, as we do at home, but the driver would not hear of it. "No, no," he said, "you must not walk here. The dogs are far too fierce." And then he added, with what he evidently meant for a grim pleasantry, for he looked round to catch the approving smile of the rest, "And you may have enough of such matters before you go to sleep." The only stop he would make was a moment's pause to light his lamps. When it grew dark, there seemed to be some excitement amongst the passengers. They kept speaking to him, one after the other, as though urging him to further speed. He lashed the horses unmercifully with his long whip, and with wild cries of encouragement urged them on to further exertions. Then, through the darkness, I could see a sort of patch of grey light ahead of us, as there was a cleft in the hills. The excitement of the passengers grew greater. The crazy coach rocked on its great leather springs and swayed like a boat tossed on a stormy sea. I had to hold on. The road grew more level, and we appeared to fly along. Then the mountains seemed to come nearer to us on each side and to frown down upon us. We were entering on the Borgo Pass. One by one, several of the passengers offered me gifts, which were pressed upon me with an earnestness which would take no denial. These were certainly of an odd and varied kind, but each was given in simple good faith, with a kindly word and a blessing, and that same strange mixture of fear-meaning movements which I had seen outside the hotel at Bistrix, the sign of the cross and the guard against the evil eye. Then, as we flew along, the coach leaned forward, and on each side the passengers, craning over the edge of the coach, peered eagerly into the darkness. It was evident that there's something very exciting was either happening or expected. But though I asked each passenger, no one would give me the slightest explanation. This state of excitement kept on for quite some time, and at last we saw before us the pass opening out on the eastern side. There were dark, rolling clouds overhead, and in the air the heavy, oppressive sense of thunder. It seemed as though the mountain range had separated two atmospheres, and now that we had got into the thunderous one, I was now myself looking out of the conveyance which was to take me to the Count. Each moment I expected to see the glare of lamps through the blackness, but all was dark. The only light was the flickering rays of our own lamps, in which the steam from our hard-driven horses rose in a white cloud. We could see the sandy road lying white before us, but there was on it no sign of a vehicle. The passengers drew back with a sigh of gladness, which seemed to mock my own disappointment. I was already thinking what I had best do, when the driver looked at his watch, said to the others something which I could hardly hear. It was spoken so quietly and so low in tone. I thought it was an hour less than the time. Then turning to me, he spoke in a German worse than my own. "There is no carriage here. The Herr is not expected after all. He will now come on to Bukovina and return tomorrow on the next day. Better the next day." Whilst he was speaking, the horses began to neigh and snort and plunge wildly, so the driver had to hold them up. Then, against the chorus of screams from the peasants and the universal crossing of themselves, a calash with 4 horses drove up behind us, overtook us, and fell up beside the coach. I could see the flash of our lamps as the ray fell upon them, and that the horses were coal-black and splendid animals. They were driven by a tall man with a long brown beard and a great black hat, which seemed to hide his face from us. I could only see the gleam of a pair of very bright eyes, which seemed red in the lamplight as he turned to us. He said to the driver, "You are early tonight, my friend." The man stammered in reply, "The English Herr was in a hurry." To which the stranger replied, "That is why. I suppose you wished him to go to Bukovina. You cannot deceive me, my friend. I know too much, and my horses are swift." As he spoke, he smiled, and the lamplight fell on a hard-looking mouth, with very red lips and sharp-looking teeth, as white as ivory. One of my companions whispered to another line from the Burger's Lenore, "Den die Toten reiten schnell," for the dead travels fast. The strange driver evidently heard the words, as he looked up with a gleaming smile. The passenger turned his face away at the same time, putting out his 2 fingers and crossing himself. "Give me the Herr's luggage," said the driver, and with exceeding alacrity, my bags were handed out and put in the calash. Sorry. Excuse me. Then I descended from the side of the coach as the calash was close alongside. The driver helped me with a hand which caught my arm in a grip of steel. His strength must have been prodigious. Without a word as he took his reins, the horses turned, and we swept into the darkness of the pass. As I looked back, I saw the steam from the horses of the coach by the light of the lamps, and projected against it the figures of my late companions crossing themselves. And the driver cracked his whip and called to his horses, and off they swept on their way to Bukovina. As they sank into the darkness, I felt a strange chill, and a lonely feeling came over me. But a cloak was thrown over my shoulders, and a rug against my knees. And the driver said in excellent German, "The night is chill, mynheer, and my master, the Count, bade me to take all care of you. There is a flask of Slivovitz, the plum brandy of the country, underneath the seat if you should require it." I did not take any, but it was a comfort to know that it was all there the same. I felt a little strangely and not a little frightened. I think, had there been any alternative, I should have taken it, instead of prosecuting that unknown night journey. The carriage went at a hard pace, straight along, then we made a complete turn and went along another straight road. It seemed to me that we were simply going over and over the same ground again, and so I took note of some salient point and found that this was so. I would have liked to have asked the driver what this all meant, but I really feared to do so, for I thought that placed as I was, any protest would have had no effect in case there had been an intention to delay. By and by, however, as I was curious to how time was passing, I struck a match, and by its flame looked at my watch. It was within a few minutes of midnight. This gave me a sort of shock, for I suppose the general superstition about midnight was increased by my recent experiences. I waited with a feeling of sick suspense. Thank you so much for the follow, Damn Thick, One Alex, and Asen. Welcome, welcome, my dears. And yo, can I please get a shout out for my love, Frey? Thank you so much for dropping by, my love. How are you doing? You're reading Dracula today. Some of these European words are really fucking with me, I will say. Some of these European words are fucking with me. I don't know how to pronounce these. Hello, my love. You guys should definitely check out Frey. She's super, super sweet and does amazing ASMR. Will we do a collab soon? Maybe, who knows? Did you know? Maybe, I don't know. I love her very much, and I highly recommend you guys check her out because I love her with my whole heart. Yes, soon TM. Soon TM. You're doing great. Thank you, my dear. I hope you guys are enjoying it. It's a bit of a different one. I know it's longer, so it might be harder to follow, but I hope that it's okay. I hope that you guys are following along okay, or it's easy to follow. Then a dog began to howl. Oh, welcome to the wolf pack. Oh, and a dog began to howl somewhere in a farmhouse far down the road. A long, agonized wailing, as if from fear. The sound was taken up by another dog, and then another, and another, till borne on the wind, which now sighed softly through the pass, a wild howling began, which seemed to come from all over the country as far as the imagination could grasp it through the gloom of the night. Oh. At the first howl, the horses began to strain and rear, but the driver spoke to them soothingly, and they quieted down, but shivered and sweated, as though after a runaway from sudden fright. Then, far off in the distance from the mountains on each side began a louder and a sharper howling, that of wolves. Oh, which affected both the horses and myself in the same way, for I was minded to jump from the calash and run, whilst they reared again and plunged madly, so that the driver had to use all his great strength to keep them from bolting. In a few minutes, however, my own ears got accustomed to the sound, and the horses so far became quiet that the driver was able to descend and to stand before them. He petted and soothed them, and whispered something in their ears, as I have heard of horse tamers doing, and with extraordinary effect, for under his caresses they became quite manageable again, though they still trembled. The driver again took his seat, and shaking his reins started off at a great pace. This time, after going to the far side of the pass, he suddenly turned down a narrow roadway which ran sharply to the right. Soon we were hemmed in with trees, which in places arched right over the roadway till we passed as through a tunnel, and again great frowning rocks guarded us boldly on either side. Though we were in shelter, we could hear the rising wind, for it moaned and whistled through the rocks, and the branches of the trees crashed together as we swept along. It grew colder and colder still, and fine powdery snow began to fall, so that soon we were, and all around us were covered with a white blanket. The keen wind still carried the howling of the dogs, though this grew fainter as we went on along the way. The baying of the wolves sounded nearer and nearer, as they were closing round on us from every side. I grew dreadfully afraid, and the horses shared my fear. The driver, however, was not in the least disturbed. He kept turning his head left and right, but I could not see anything through the darkness. Suddenly, away on our left, I saw a faint, flickering blue flame. The driver saw it at the same moment. He at once checked the horses and, jumping to the ground, disappeared in the darkness. I did not know what to do. The less as the howling of the wolves grew closer, but while I wondered, the driver suddenly appeared again and, without a word, took his seat, and we resumed our journey. I think I must have fallen asleep and kept dreaming of the incident, for it seemed to be repeated endlessly. And now looking back, it is some sort of awful nightmare. Once the flame appeared so near the road that even in the darkness around us I could watch the driver's motions. He went rapidly to where the blue flames arose. It must have been very faint, for it did not seem to illuminate the place around it. In gathering a few stones, formed them into some device. Once there appeared a strange optical effect. When he stood between me and the flame, he did not obstruct it, for I could see its ghostly flicker all the same. This startled me, but as the effect was only momentary, it took it that my eyes deceived me, straining through the darkness. Then for a time there were no blue flames, and we sped onwards through the gloom, with the howling of the wolves around us, as though they were following in a moving circle. At last there came a time where the driver went further afield than he had yet gone, and during his absence the horses began to tremble, worse than ever, and to snort and scream with fright. I could not see any cause for it, for the howling of the wolves had ceased altogether. But just then the moon, sailing through the black clouds, appeared behind the jagged crest of a beetling pine-clad rock, and by its light I saw around us a ring of wolves, with white teeth and lolling red tongues, with long, sinewy limbs and shaggy hair. They were 100 times more terrible in the grim silence which held them than even when they howled. For myself, I felt a sort of paralysis of fear. It is only when a man feels himself face to face with such horrors that he can understand their true import. All at once the wolves began to howl, as though the moonlight had had some peculiar effect on them. The horses jumped around, its reared, and looked helplessly round with eyes that rolled and are very painful to see. But the living ring of terror encompassed them on every side, and they had forced to remain within it. I called to the coachman to come, for it seemed to me that our only chance was to try and break out of the ring and aid his approach. I shouted and beat the side of the calash, hoping by the noise to scare the wolves from the side, so as to give him a chance of reaching the trap. How he came there I know not, but I heard his voice raised in a tone of imperious command, and looked towards the sound, saw him standing in the roadway. As he swept his long arms as though brushing aside some impalpable obstacle, the wolves fell back and back further still. Just then a heavy cloud passed across the face of the moon, so that we were again in darkness. When I could see the driver again that was climbing into the calash, and the wolves disappeared. This was all so strange and uncanny that a dreadful fear came upon me, and I was afraid to speak or move. Time seemed interminable as we swept on our way, now in almost complete darkness, for the rolling clouds obscured the moon. Oh snap, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Frey. Thank you, I really appreciate it, dear. We kept on ascending with occasional periods of quick descent, but in the main always ascending. Suddenly I became conscious of the fact that the driver was in the act of pulling up the horses in the courtyard of a vast ruined castle, from whose tall black windows came no ray of light, and whose broken battlements showed a jagged line against the sky. Okay, that was the first chapter. What do you guys think of the story so far? Thank you so much for gifting a sub to Frey. Thank you. I have 4 months in a row. 4 months. Oh, kisses for 4 months. Oh, ow. That's what I think. I think, oh. Thank you for the hydrate, Earl. Thank you. I think he does such a wonderful job of describing the landscape and painting like a picture of the surroundings. It's when they're not using the European words. I found it pretty easy to read actually. And bada bing, and I think it was who was it? Jared, yeah, thank you so much for the lucky look, guys. Mwah. I'll see you very soon. Thanks so much for dropping by. I really appreciate it, dears. But yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Would you like to continue, or should we do more like short stories if it's a little bit hard to follow? So this one was only chapter 1. Keep going. Okay. I keep going. I keep going. I keep going. Me no pay attention, brain go brr from Evie's voice. Brain go brr brr. Sage of Time, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, dear. Welcome to your new eternity, and welcome also to Sky Barrow. Hello there, dear. Thank you so much for the follows. Welcome in. We're reading Dracula today. Okay, so we're up to chapter 2. Jonathan Harker's journal continued. Oh my god. Can you hear my joints cracking? That's fucked. Jonathan Harker's journal continued. Oh, Elavoji? Welcome, dear. Thank you so much for the follow as well. If you cracked. 5th of May. Disguised Beast, how you doing? Welcome in. Actually, let me send a message to my mods. Neutral. I'm having a great time. I'm actually really interested in seeing how this book turns out, because I think I've only ever read like the first chapter, but I'm pretty into it so far. Also, I have a little bat friend with me today. Ah. Yo, YG Pat Rags, welcome in. Thank you so much for redeeming. I'm new. Welcome to chat, dear. How are you doing today? Okay. So I'll start off. 5th of May. I must have been asleep, for certainly if I had been fully awake, I must have noticed the approach of such a remarkable place. In the gloom, the courtyard looked of considerable size, and as several dark ways led from it under great round arches, it perhaps seemed bigger than it really is. I have not yet been able to see it by daylight. When the calash stopped, the driver jumped down and held out his hand to assist me into a light. Again, I could not help but notice his prodigious strength. His hand actually seemed like a steel vice that could have crushed mine if he had chosen. Then he took my traps and placed them on the ground beside me as I stood close to a great door. Old and studded with large iron nails and set in a projecting doorway of massive stone. I could see, even in the dim light, that the stone was massively carved, and that the carving had been much worn by time and weather. As I stood, the driver jumped again into the seat and shook the reins. The horses started forward, and the trap and all disappeared down one of the dark openings. I stood there in silence, where I was, for I did not know what to do. Of bell or knocker there was no sign. Through these frowning walls and dark window openings, it was not likely that my voice would penetrate. The time I waited seemed endless, and I felt doubts and fears crowding upon me. What sort of place had I come to, and among what kind of people? What sort of grim adventure was it on which I had embarked? Was this a customary incident in the life of a solicitor's clerk sent out to explain the purchase of a London estate to a foreigner? A solicitor's clerk? Mina would not like that. Solicitor, for just before leaving London I got word that my examination was successful, and I am now a full-blown solicitor. I began to rub my eyes and pinch myself to see if I were awake. It all seemed like a horrible nightmare to me, and I expected that I should suddenly awake and find myself at home, with the dawn struggling through the windows. as I had now and again felt in the morning after a day of overwork. But my flesh answered the pinching test, and my eyes were not to be deceived. I was indeed awake and among the Carpathians. All I could do now was be patient and wait the coming of morning. Thanks for the posture check, Spoonie. That's cool, you continue. Thank you, Taloki. How you doing? I've only ever seen the movie with Gary Oldman and Keanu in the theatre. I've actually never seen it, hey? Just as I had come to this conclusion, I heard a heavy step approaching behind the great door, and saw through the chinks the gleam of a coming light. Then there was a sound of rattling chains and the clanking of massive bolts drawn back. A key was turned with a loud grating noise of long disuse, and the great door swung back. Within stood a tall old man, clean-shaven save for a long white mustache, and clad in black from head to foot, without a single speck of colour about him anywhere. He held in his hand an antique silver lamp, in which the flame burned without a chimney or globe of any kind, throwing long quivering shadows as it flickered in the draught of the open door. The old man motioned me in with his right hand with a courtly gesture, saying in excellent English, but with strange intonation, "Welcome to my house, enter freely of your own free will." He made no notion of stepping to meet me, but stood like a statue, as though his gesture of welcome had fixed him into stone. The instant, however, that I stepped over the threshold, he moved impulsively forward, and holding out his hand grasped mine with a strength which made me wince, an effect which was not lessened by the fact that it seemed cold as ice, more like the hand of a dead than a living man. Again he said, "Welcome to my house, enter freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring." The strength of the handshake was so much akin to that which I had noticed in the driver, whose face I had not seen, that for a moment I doubted if it were not the same person to whom I was speaking. So to make sure, I said interrogatively, "Count Dracula?" He bowed in a courtly way as he replied, "I'm Dracula, and I bid you welcome, Mr. Harker, to my house. Come in. The night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest." As he was speaking, he put the lamp on a bracket on the wall and stepped out and took my luggage. He carried it in before I could forestall him and protested, but he insisted. "Nay, sir, you are my guest. It is late, and my people are not available. Let me see to your comfort myself." He insisted on carrying my traps along the passage and then up a great winding stair and along another great passage, on whose stone floor our steps rang heavily. At the end of this he threw open a heavy door, and I rejoiced to see within a well-lit room in which a table was spread for supper, and on whose mighty hearth a great fire of logs, freshly replenished, flamed and flared. Hello Lance, how you doing, love? Welcome. It's really good. I'm picturing all the imagery as you read. I'm glad you're enjoying it. The Count halted, putting down my bags, closed the door and crossing the room, opened another door which led into the small octagonal room lit by a single lamp and seemingly without a window of any sort. Passing through this, he opened another door and he motioned me to enter. It was a welcome sight, for here was a great bedroom, well lighted and warmed with another log fire, also added to, but lately, for the top logs were fresh, which sent a hollow roar up with the wide chimney. The Count himself left my luggage inside and withdrew, saying before he closed the door, "You will need after your journey to refresh yourself by making your toilet. I trust you will find all you wish. Whenever you are ready, come into the other room where you will find your supper prepared." The light and warmth in the Count's courteous welcome seemed to have dissipated all my doubts and fears. Having then reached my normal state, I discovered that I was half famished from hunger. So making a hasty toilet, I went into the other room. I found supper already laid out. My host, who stood on one side of the great fireplace, leaning against the stonework, made a graceful wave of his hand to the table and said, "I pray you, be seated and sup how you please. You will, I trust, excuse me that I do not join you, but I have dined already and I do not sup. I handed to him the sealed letter which Mr. Hawkins had entrusted me. He opened it and read it gravely. Then, with a charming smile, he handed it to me to read. One passage of it, at least, gave me the thrill of pleasure. I must regret that attack of gout, from which, my lady, I am constant sufferer, forbids absolutely any travelling on my part for some time to come, but I am happy to say I can send a sufficient substitute, one in whom I have every possible confidence. He is a young man full of energy and talent in his own way, and a very faithful disposition. He is discreet and silent, and has grown in manhood in my service. He shall be ready to attend on you when you will during his stay, and shall take your instruction in all matters. The Count himself came forward and took off the cover of a dish, and fell to at once on an excellent roast chicken. This, with some cheese and a salad and a bottle of old Tokay, of which I had 2 glasses, was my supper. During the time I was eating it, the Count asked me many questions as to my journey, and I told him by degrees all I had experienced. By this time I had finished my supper, and by my host's desire had drawn up a chair by the fire and begun to smoke a cigar which he offered me, at the time excusing himself that he did not smoke. I had now an opportunity by observing him, and found him a very marked physiognomy. What word is this? What?
Physiognomy.
Physiognomy. What is that? Does that even mean? A person's facial features or expression, especially when regarded as indicative of character or ethnic. Ah, his facial expression. Jesus Christ, what? Oh my god, I already forgot. Physiognomy? Physiognomy. His face was strong, a very strong, aquiline, with high bridge of the thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils, with lofty, domed forehead, and with bushy hair that seemed to curl in its own protrusion. The mouth so far I could see it under white teeth, those protruded over the lips whose remarkable ruddiness showed astonishingly vitality in a man of his years. For the rest, his ears were pale, and at the tops extremely pointed. The chin was broad and strong, the cheeks firm though thin. The general effect was one of extraordinary pallor. Hitherto, I had noticed the backs of his hands as they lay on his knees in the firelight, and they had seemed rather white and fine. But seeing them now close to me, I could not notice that they were rather coarse, broad, and squat fingers. Strange to say, there were hairs in the centre of the palm. The nails were long and fine, and cut to a sharp point. As the Count leaned over me and his hands touched me, I could not repress a shudder. It may have been that his breath was rank, but a horrible feeling of nausea came over me, which, do what I would not conceal. The Count, evidently noticing it, drew back, and with a grim sort of smile, which showed more than he had yet done his protuberant teeth, sat himself down again on his own side of the fireplace. We were both silent for a while as I looked toward the window and saw the first dim streak of the coming dawn. There seemed a strange stillness over everything. As I listened, I heard as if from down below in the valley the howling of many wolves. Count's eyes gleamed, and he said, "Listen, the children of the night, what music they make." Seeing, I suppose, some expression in my face strange to him, he added, "Ah, sir, you dwellers in the city cannot enter into the feelings of the hunted." And he rose and said, "Ah, but you must be tired. Your bedroom is all ready, and tomorrow you shall sleep as late as you will. I have to be away till the afternoon, so sleep well and dream well." With a courteous bow, he opened for me himself the door to the octagonal room, and I entered my bedroom. I am in a sea of wonders. I doubt, I fear, I think strange things, which I dare not confess to my own soul. God keep me, if only for the sake of those dear to me. 7th of May. It is again early morning, but I have rested and enjoyed the last 24 hours. I slept till late in the day and awoke of my own accord when I dressed myself and went into the room where we had supped. I found a cold breakfast laid out, with the coffee kept hot by the pot, being placed on the hearth. There was a card on the table on which was written, "I have to be absent for a while. Do not wait for me. D." I set to and enjoyed a hearty meal. When I had done, I looked for a bell so that I might let the servants know I had finished, but I could not find one. There were certainly odd deficiencies in the house, considering the extraordinary evidences of wealth which were around me. The table service is of gold, and so beautifully wrought that it must be of immense value. The curtains and upholstery most beautiful fabrics, and must have been of fabulous value when they were made, for they are centuries old. They were in excellent order. I saw something like them in the Hampton Court, but they were worn and frayed and moth-eaten. But still in none of the rooms is there a mirror. There is not even a toilet glass on my table, and I had to get this little shaving mirror from my bag before I could either shave or brush my hair. I have not yet seen a servant anywhere, or heard a sound near the castle except the howling of wolves. Some time after I had finished my meal, I do not know whether to call it breakfast or dinner, for it was between 5 and 6 o'clock when I had it. I looked about for something to read, for I did not like to go about the castle until I had asked for the Count's permission. There was absolutely nothing in the room, book, newspaper, or even writing materials. So I opened another door in the room and found a sort of library. The door opposite mine I tried, but found locked. In the library I found, to my great delight, a vast number of English books, whole shelves full of them, and bound volumes of magazines and newspapers. A table in the centre was littered with English magazines and newspapers, though none of them were of very recent date. The books were of the most varied kind: history, geography, politics, political economy, botany, geology, law, all relating to England and English life and customs and manners. There were even such books of reference as the London Directory, the Red and the Blue books, Whitaker's Almanac, the Army and Navy list, and it somehow gladdened my heart to see it, the Law list. While I was looking at the books, the door opened and the Count entered. He saluted me in a hearty way and hoped that I had a good night's rest. Then he went on, "I am glad you have found your way in here, for I am sure that this is much interest to you. These companions," he laid his hand on some of the books, "have been good friends of mine, and for some years past, ever since I had the idea of going to London, have given me many, many hours of pleasure, though through them I have come to know your great England, and to know her is to love her. I long to go through the crowded streets of your mighty London, to the widths and the whirl of rush of humanity, to share its life, its change, its death, and all that it makes what it is, but alas, as yet I only know your tongue through books. To you, my friend, I look that I know it is to speak." "But Count," I said, "you know and speak English thoroughly." He bowed gravely. "I thank you, friend, for your all too flattering estimate, but I fear that I am little on the way to the road I would travel. True, I know the grammar and the words, but I yet not know how to speak them." "Indeed," I said, "you speak excellently." "Not so," he answered. "Well, I know that I did move and speak in your London. None there are who would not know me for a stranger. That is not enough for me. Here I am noble. I am a boyar. The common people know me, and I am master. But a stranger in a strange land, he is no one. Men know him not, and know not he is to care not for. I am content if I am like the rest, so that no man stops if he sees me, or pauses in his speaking as he hears my words. Ha ha, stranger, I have been so long master, I would be master still. Or at least that none other should be master of me. You come to me not alone as agent of my friend Peter Hawkins or Exeter to tell me all about my new estate in London. You shall rest, I trust, here with me for a while, so that by talking I may learn the English intonation. I would tell you The way he speaks is so odd to read. I would that you tell me. I would that you tell me when I make error, even of the smallest in my speaking. I'm sorry that I may be away for long today, but you will, I know, forgive one who has many important affairs in hand. Hi, Miluyuki. How are you doing, love? Yeah, we're reading today. We're reading Dracula. Of course, I said all I could about being willingly, and asked if I might come into that room when I chose. He answered, yes, certainly, and added. He got that hot Eastern Euro sentence structure. It's so hard because, like, my brain automatically kind of, like, reads the start of the sentence and then feels the end of it, but the English, like, the sentence structure in which he reads it, like, makes me, like, always, like, cuts me off. Like, I'll start reading it and then I'll finish reading it wrong and I'll be like, oh no, he mixed the words around. Hi Ribbon, how you doing, love? Great to see you. Welcome, welcome. You may go anywhere you wish in the castle, except where the doors are locked, where of course you will not wish to go. There is reason that all things are as they were. And did you see with my eyes and not with my knowledge, you would perhaps better understand. I said I was sure of this, and he went on. Lol person, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, dear. We are in Transylvania, and Transylvania is not England. Our ways are not your ways, and there shall be to you many strange things. Nay, from what you have told me of your experiences already, you know something of what strange things there may be. Sad Broken Bell, or how you doing? Welcome, welcome, dear. And lol person, thanks for redeeming, and I'm new. Welcome into chat. Hope you've been well. In before the story of Dracula is a colloquialism for European imperialism making melting pot cultures. Is it? I feel bad. I feel like I've just given him the most general, like, hot European voice. Hot European Eastern old man voice. I imagine he would sound like a zaddy. Like a zaddy. I was gonna be like, he would be like, what's his first name? Dracula? A daddy. And I was like, no, not a daddy. I don't want to call him straight up a daddy. Brandon, how you doing, love? Welcome, welcome. Apparently his breath stinks. Even in the Balkans, Dracula still fights. This led to much conversation, as it was evident that he wanted to talk. If only for talking's sake, I asked him many questions regarding things that had already happened to me or come within my notice. Sometimes he sheared off the subject or turned the conversation by pretending not to understand, but generally he answered all I asked most frankly. Then as time went on and I had got somewhat bolder, I asked him of some of the strange things of the preceding night, as for instance why the coachman went to the places where he had seen the blue flames. Then he explained to me that it was commonly believed that on a certain night of the year, last night in fact, when all evil spirits are supposed to have unchecked sway, a blue flame is seen over any place where treasure has been concealed. That treasure has been hidden, he went on, in the region through which you came last night. There can be but little doubt, for it was the ground fought over for centuries by the Wallachian and the Saxon and the Turk. Well, why, there is hardly a foot of soil in all this region that was not been enriched by the blood of men, patriots and invaders. In the old days there were stirring times when the Austrian and Hungarian men came up in hordes, and the patriots went out to meet them, men and women, the aged and the children too, and waited their coming on the rocks above the passes, that they might sweep destruction on them with their artificial avalanches. When the invader was triumphant, he found but little, for whatever there was had been sheltered in the friendly soil. But how, said I, can it have been remained so long undiscovered when there is a sure index to it, if men will but take the trouble to look? The Count smiled, and as his lips ran back over his gums, the long, sharp canine teeth showed out strangely. He answered, because your peasant is at heart a coward and a fool. Those flames only appear on one night, and on that night no man of this land will, if he can help it, stir without his doors. And dear sir, if he didn't If he did, he would not know what to do. Why, even the peasant that you tell me of who marked the place of the flame would not know where to look in daylight even for his own work. Even you would not, I dare a bit small, be able to find these places again. There you are right, I said. I know no more than the dead where even to look for them. Then we drifted into other matters. Habsburg Empire moment. Ah, I see. Ephraim, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Planet as well, welcome in. Come, he said to me, tell me of London and the house which you have procured for me. With an apology of my remissness, I went into their own room to get papers for the bag. Whilst I was placing them in order, I heard a rattling of china and silver in the next room. And as I passed through, noticed that the table had been cleared and the lamp lit. For it was by this time deep in the dark, the lamps were also lit in the study of the library. And I found the Count lying on the sofa reading, of all things in the world, an English Bradshaw's Guide. When I came in, he cleared the books and papers from the table, and with him I went into plans and deeds and figures of all sorts. He was interested in everything, and asked me a myriad of questions about the place and its surroundings. He clearly had studied beforehand and all he could get on the subject of the neighbourhood, for he evidently at the end knew very much more than I did. When I remarked this, he answered, "Well, but my friend, is it not needful that I should not? When I go there, I shall be all alone, and my friend Harker Jonathan, nay, pardon me, I fall into the country's habit of putting your patronymic first. My friend, Jonathan Harker, will not be by my side to correct and aid me. He will not be in Exeter. He will be in Exeter, miles away, probably working at the papers of the law with my friend Peter Hawkins, so..." He went thoroughly into the business of the purchase of the estate at Purfleet. When I had told him the facts of and got his signature to the necessary papers, and had written a letter with them ready to post to Mr. Hawkins, he began to ask me how I had come across so suitable a place. I read to him the notes which I had made at the time, and which I inscribe here. At Purfleet, on a by-road, I came across such a place as seemed to be required, and where was displayed a dilapidated notice that the place was for sale. It is surrounded by a high wall of ancient structure, built of heavy stones, and had been repaired for a large number of years. The closed gates are of heavy old oak and iron, and all eaten with rust. The estate is called Carfax, no doubt a corruption of the old Cut-face? It's French. As the house is four-sided, agreeing with the cardinal points of the compass, it contains in all some 20 acres, quite surrounded by the solid stone wall above mentioned. There were many trees on it, which made it look in places gloomy. And there is a deep, dark-looking pond or small lake, evidently fed by some springs, as the water is clear and flows away in a fair-sized stream. The house is very large and of all periods back, I should say to medieval times, for one part of stone is immensely thick, and with only a few windows high up and heavily barred with iron, it looks like part of a keep, and is close to an old chapel or church. I could not enter it, as I had not the key or the door leading to it from the house, but I have taken with my Kodak views of it from various points. The house had been added to it, but in a very straggling way, and I can only guess at the amount of ground it covers, which must be very great. There are but few houses close at hand, one being a very large house, only recently added to, and formed into a private lunatic asylum. It is not, however, visible from the grounds. Ayo, uru neko nazuna. Thank you for the head pats, and thank you for the hydro ale, and have a little bit of coffee. Basically life, welcome in as well. Hope you guys are enjoying the story. I have a candle that smells like melon candy, and it's been burning for a while, and now everything smells like melon. Yeah, I have a little iced coffee. I got a creme brulee chiller with a shot of coffee in it. Sheesh. Okay. Oh my god, I took off my glasses for a bit and I got like whiplash. I was like, oh fuck. Forgot my eyes struggle. When I had finished, he said, I am glad that it is old and big. I myself am of an old family and live in a new house, and to live in a new house would kill me. A house cannot be made habitable in a day, and after all, how few times to go up to make a century. I rejoice also that there is a chapel of all times. We Transylvanian nobles love not to think that our bones may lie amongst the common dead. I seek not gaiety nor mirth, not the bright voluptuousness of much sunshine and sparkling waters, which please the young and gay. Me, kidding. I am no longer young, and my heart, though weary years of mourning over the dead, is not attuned to mirth. Moreover, the walls of the castle are broken. The shadows are many, and the wind breathes cold through the broken battlements and casements. I love the shade and the shadow, and would be alone with my thoughts when I may. Somehow, his words and his look did not seem to accord, or else it was that his cast of face made his smile look malignant and saturnine. Soggy Cheese Card, welcome, welcome, thank you for the follow, dear. Presently, with an excuse, he left me, asking me to pull my papers together. He was some little time away, and I began to look at some of the books around me. One was an atlas, which I found open naturally to England, as if that map had been much used. On looking at it, I found in certain places little rings marked, and on examining these, I noticed that one was near London on the east side, manifestly where his new estate was situated. The other two were Exeter and Whitby on the Yorkshire coast. The sun is for the young and gays, me. The sun is for me. It was the better part of an hour when the Count returned. Ah, he said, still at your books, good. But you must not work always. Come, I am informed that your supper is ready. He took my arm and we went into the next room, where I found an excellent supper ready on the table. The Count again excused himself, as he had dined out on his being away from home. But as he sat on the previous night and chatted whilst I ate, after supper I smoked, as on the last evening, and the Count stayed with me, chatting and asking questions on every conceivable subject, hour after hour. I felt that it was getting very late indeed, but I did not say anything, for I felt under obligation to meet my host's wishes in every way. I was not sleepy, as a long sleep yesterday had fortified me, but I could not help experiencing that chill which comes over one at the coming of dawn, which is like in its way the turning of the tide. They say that people who are near death die generally at the change to dawn, or the turn of the tide. Anyone who has, when tired and tied, as it were, to his post, experienced this change in the atmosphere can well believe it. All at once, we heard the crow of the cock coming up with the preternatural shrillness through the clear morning air. Count Dracula, jumping to his feet, said, "Oh, why, it is morning again. How remiss I am to let you stay up so long. You must make your conversation regarding my dear new country of England less interesting, so that I may not forget how time flies by us." With a courtly bow, he quickly left me. I went into my room and drew the curtains, but there was little to notice. My window opened to the courtyard, and all I could see was the warm grey of the quickening sky. So I pulled the curtains again, and I've written of this day. 8th of May. I began to fear as I wrote in this book that I was getting too diffuse, but now I am glad that I went into detail from the first, for there is something so strange about this place and all in it that I cannot but feel uneasy. I wish I was safe out of it, or that I had never come, and maybe that this strange night existence is telling on me, but would that were all. If there were anyone to talk to, I would bear it, but there is no one. I have only the Count to speak with, and he, I fear I am myself the only living soul within the place. Let me be prosaic as far as facts can be. It will help me to bear up, and imagination must not run riot with me. If it does, I am lost. Let me say at once how I stand or seem to. I only sleep a few hours when I went to bed, and feeling I could not sleep any more, got up. I had hung my shaving glass by the window and was just beginning to shave. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder and heard the Count's voice saying to me, "Good morning." I started for it, amazed that I had not seen him, since the reflection of the glass covered the whole room behind me. In starting, I had cut myself slightly, but did not notice it at that moment. Having answered the Count's salutation, I turned to the glass again to see how I had been mistaken. This time, there could be no error, for the man was close to me, and I could see him over my shoulder, but there was no reflection of him in the mirror. The whole room behind me was displayed, but there was no sign of a man in it, except myself. This was startling, and coming on the top of so many strange things, was beginning to increase that vague feeling of uneasiness which I always have when the Count is near. But at that instant I saw the cut had bled a little, and the blood was trickling over my chin. I laid down the razor, turning as I did so half round to look for some sticking plaster, when the Count saw my face. His eyes blazed with some demonic fury, and he suddenly made a grab at my throat. I drew away, and his hand touched the string of beads which held the crucifix. It made him instant change in him, for the fury passed so quickly that I could hardly believe that it was ever there. "Take care," he said. "Take care how you cut yourself. It is more dangerous than you would think in this country." Then seizing the shaving glass, he went on. "And this is a wretched thing that has done the mischief. It's a foul bauble of a man's vanity. Away with it." And opening the window with one wrench of his terrible hand, he flung out the glass, which was shattered to 1,000 pieces on the stones of the courtyard far below. Then he withdrew without a word. It is very annoying, for I do not see how I am to shave, unless in my watch case or the bottom of a shaving pot, which is fortunately made of metal. When I went into the dining room, breakfast was prepared, but I could not find the Count anywhere. So I breakfasted alone. It is strange that as yet I have not seen the Count eat or drink. He must be a very peculiar man. After breakfast I did a little exploring of the castle. I went out on the stairs and found a room looking towards the south. The view was magnificent, and from where I stood there was every opportunity of seeing it. The castle was on the very edge of a terrific precipice. A stone falling from the window could reach 1,000 feet without touching anything. As far as the eye could see is a sea of green treetops, with occasionally a deep rift where there is a chasm. Here and there are silver threads where the rivers wind in deep gorges through the forests. But I am not in heart to describe beauty, for when I am seen the view I explored further. Doors, doors, doors everywhere, and all locked and bolted. In no place save from the windows and the castle walls is there even an available exit. The castle is a veritable prison, and I am a prisoner. Chapter 2 Fit. A little coffee break. I'm running out of coffee. Shall I continue then? Chapter 3. Jonathan Harker's journal continued. When I found that I was a prisoner, a sort of wild feeling came over me. I rushed up and down the stairs, trying every door and peering out of every window I could find, if they had bats. But after a little, the conviction of my helplessness overpowered all other feelings. When I look back after a few hours, I think I must have been mad for the time, for I behaved much as a rat does in a trap. When, however, the conviction had come to me that I was helpless, I sat down quietly as I have ever done anything in my life, and began to think over what was best to be done. I am thinking still, and as yet I have come to no definite conclusion. Of one thing only am I certain, that it is no use making my ideas known to the Count. He knows well that I am imprisoned, and he has done it himself. and has doubtless his own motives for it. He would only deceive me if I trusted him fully with the facts. So far as I can see, my only plan will be to keep my knowledge and my fears to myself, and my eyes open. I know, either being deceived like a baby by my own fears, or else I am in desperate straits, and if the latter be so, I need and shall need all my brains to get through. I had hardly come to this conclusion when I heard the great door below shut and knew the Count had returned. Josarian, how you doing? Welcome in. He did not come at once into the library, so I went cautiously to my own room and found him making the bed. This was odd, but only confirmed what I had all along thought, that there were no servants in the house. When later I saw him through the chink of the hinges of the door, laying the table in the dining room, I was assured of it. For if he does himself all these menial offices, surely it is proof that there is no one else in the castle. It must have been the Count himself who was the driver of the coach that had brought me here. This is a terrible thought, for if so, what does it mean that he could control the wolves as he did by only holding up his hand for silence? And how was it that all the people in Bistritz and on the coach had some terrible fear for me? What meaning the giving of the crucifix, of the garlic, of the wild rose, of the mountain ash? God bless that good woman who hung the crucifix round my neck, for it is a comfort and strength to me whenever I touch it. It is odd that a thing which I have been taught to regard with disfavour as idolatrous should in a time of loneliness and trouble be of help. Is it that there is something in the essence of the thing itself, or that it is a medium, a tangible help in conveying memories of sympathy and comfort? Sometime, if it may be, I must examine this matter and try to make up my mind about it. In the meantime, I must find out all I can about Count Dracula, as it may help me to understand. Tonight, he may talk himself out of it. If I turn the conversation that way, I must be very careful, however, not to awake his suspicion. You love my accent? Thank you, dear. That's very sweet of you. And Fortune Smith, welcome in. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to your new eternity. I am Evie. If you all are new, we're reading a little bit of Dracula today. Midnight. I've had a long talk with the Count. I asked him a few questions on Transylvania history, and he warmed up to the subject wonderfully. In his speaking of things and people, and especially of battles, he spoke as if he had been present at them all. This he afterwards explained by saying that to a boyar the pride of his house and name is his own pride, and their glory is his glory, and their fate is his fate. Whenever he spoke of his house, he always said we, and spoke almost in the plural, like a king speaking. Thank you so much for the follow to Wolf. Welcome, and thank you so much for the resuck, Young Terminator. Thank you. Mwah, mwah. There you go, 2 kisses for 2 months. Thank you so much. What was I up to? Fuck. I wish I could put down all he said exactly as he said it to me. For, to me, it was most fascinating. It seemed to have in it a whole history of the country. He grew excited as he spoke and walked about the room pulling his great white mustache and grasping anything on which he laid his hands as though he would crush it by main strength. One thing he said, which I shall put down as nearly as I can, for it tells in its way the story of his race. We Kellys have a right to be proud, for in our veins flows the blood of many brave races who fought as the lion fights for lordship. Here, in the whirlpool of European races, the Urgrik tribe bore down from Iceland the fighting spirit which Thor and Woden gave them, which their berserkers displayed to such fell intent on the seaboards of Europe, aye, and of Asia and Africa too, till the peoples thought the werewolves themselves had come,
here too. When they came, they found the Huns, whose warlike fury had swept them the earth like a living flame. To the dying peoples held that in their veins ran the blood of those old witches who, expelled from Scythia, had mated with the devils in the desert. Fools, fools! What devil or what witch has ever so great as Attila, whose blood is in their veins? He held up his arms. Is it a wonder that we were a conquering race, that we were proud, that when the Magyar, the Lombard, the Avar, the Bulgar or the Turk poured his thousands on their frontiers, we drove them back? It is strange that the Arpad and his legion swept through the Hungarian fatherland. He found us here. When he reached the frontier and the Honfoglalas was completed there, and when the Hungarian flood swept eastward and the Zerkeles were claimed as kindred by the victorious Magyars, and to us for the centuries was trusted the guarding of the frontier of Turkeyland. Aye, and more than that, endless duty of the frontier guard, for as the Turks say, water sleeps and the enemy is sleepless. More than gladly than we throughout the foreign nations received the bloody sword, or at its warlike call flocked quicker to the standard of the king. When we redeemed that great shame of my nation, the shame of Kosovo, when the flags of the Wallach and the Magyar went down beneath the crescent, who was it but one of my own race of the Voivod crossed the Danube and beat the Turk on his own ground? This was a Dracula indeed. Woe was it that his own unworthy brother, when he had fallen, sold his people to the Turk and brought the shame of slavery on them. Was it not this Dracula indeed who inspired that other race of his race, who in later age again and again brought his forces over the great river into Turkeyland, who, when the beaten back, came again and again, though he had come alone from the bloody field where his troops were being slaughtered, since he knew that he alone could ultimately triumph. They said that he thought only of himself. Bah! What good are peasants without a leader? Where ends the war without a brain and heart to conduct it? Again, when after the Battle of Mohacs we threw off the Hungarian yoke, we of the Dracula blood were amongst their leaders, for our spirit would not brook that we were not free. Ah, young sir, the Segelis and the Dracula as their heart's blood, their brains and their swords can boast a record that mushroom grows like Habsburg and the Romanovs can never reach. The warlike days are over. The blood is too precious a thing in these days of honorable peace, and the glories of the great races are as tale that is told. And by this time, close to morning, me went to bed. Mem, this diary seems horribly like the beginning of the Arabian Nights, for everything has to break off at the cockcrow, or like the ghost of Hamlet's father. I'm doing Met relaxing. I ended up getting a physical fitness class and haven't had that in a long time, so your body's pretty sore. I'm so sorry to hear that, dear. Those physical tests can be a little rough, eh? Levos, how you doing, Lev? Welcome in. This accent is sexy, thank you. I tried to make it the sexiest general European accent I could. I was like, it needs to be so zaddy sounding, like me as an Australian trying to sound European. I hope I don't offend anyone too much. Excuse me. 12th of May. Let me begin with facts. Bare, meagre facts, verified by books and figures, and of which there can be no doubt. Actually, no. Shout out Frey again. I love Frey so much. Mwah. I can't believe you're still here. I love you. Let me begin with facts. Bare, meagre facts, verified by books and figures, and of which there can be no doubt. I must not confuse them with experiences which have to rest on my own observation, or my memory of them. Last evening, when the Count came from his room, he began by asking me questions on legal matters, and on the doing of certain kinds of business. I had spent the day wearily over books, and simply to keep my mind occupied, went over some of the matters I had examined at Lincoln's Inn. There was a certain method in the Count's inquiries, and so I shall try to put them down in sequence. The knowledge may somehow or sometime be useful to me. First, he asked if a man in England might have 2 solicitors or more. I told him he might have a dozen if he wished, but that it would not be wise to have more than one solicitor engaged in one transaction, as only one could act at a time, and that would be certain to militate against his interest. He seemed thoroughly to understand and went on to ask if there would be any practical difficulty in having one man attend to, say, to banking, and another to look after shipping, in case local help were needed in a place far from home of the banking solicitor. I asked him more fully, so that I might not be any chance misled by him, so he said, "I shall illustrate. Your friend and mine, Mr. Peter Hawkins, from under the shadow of your beautiful cathedral at Exeter, which is far from London, buys for me through your good self my place at London. Good. Now here, let me say frankly, lest you should think it strange that I sought the services of one so far from London instead of some resident there, that my motive was no local interest, might be served, save my wish only. And as of, oh my god, his prose is so difficult to read. And as one of London residents might perhaps have some purpose of himself or friend to serve, I went thus afield to seek my agents, whose affairs should be only to my interest. Now suppose I, who have much affairs, wish to ship goods, say, to Newcastle, to Durham, to Harwich or Dover, might it not be that it could be more with ease be done by consigning into one of these ports? Jesus Christ, why was that so difficult? Thanks to Lucky Like Kage Killer and Mystified Master, thank you so much for joining in and the follow. Welcome to New Eternity. My name is Evie. I answered that certainly it would be most easy, but that we solicitors had a system of agency for one another, so that local work could be done locally on instruction from any solicitor, so that the client, simply placing himself in the hands of one man, could have his wishes carried out by him without further trouble. But, said he, I could be at liberty to direct myself, is it not so? Of course, I replied, and such is often done by men of business, who do not like the whole of their affairs to be known by one person. Ah, good, he said, and then went on to ask about the means of making consignments, and the forms to be gone through, and all sorts of difficulties which might arise, and by forethought could be guarded against. I explained all these things to him to the best of my ability, and he certainly left under the impression that he would have made a wonderful solicitor, for there was nothing that he did not think of or foresee. For a man who was never in the country and who did not evidently do much in the way of business, his knowledge and acumen were wonderful. And when he said, satisfied to himself on these points of which he had spoken, and I had verified all is well, as I could by the books available, he suddenly stood up and said, "Have you written since your first letter to our friend Peter Hawkins, or to anybody?" It was with some bitterness in my heart that I answered that I had not, that as yet I had not seen any opportunity of sending letters to anybody. "Then write now, my young friend," he said, laying a heavy hand on my shoulder. "Write to a friend and to another, and say, if it will please you, that you shall stay with me for another month from now on." "Do you wish me to stay so long?" I asked. My heart grew cold at the thought. "I desire it much. Nay, I will take no refusal. When your master, employer, what you will engage that someone should come on his behalf, it was not understood that my needs only were to be consulted. I have not stinted. Is it not so?" What could I do now but bow acceptance? It was Mr. Hawkins' interest, not mine, and I had to think of him, not myself. And besides, while Dracula was speaking, there was that in his eyes and in his bearing which made me remember that I was a prisoner, and that if I wished, I could have no choice. The Count saw his victory in my bow and his mastery in the trouble of my face, for he began at once to use them in his own smooth and resistless way. "I pray to you, my good young friend, that you will not discourse of things other than business in your letters. It will be doubtless please your friends to know that you are well, and that you look forward to meeting and getting home to them. It is not so?" As he spoke, he handed me 3 sheets of notepaper and 3 envelopes. They were all of the thinnest foreign post, and looking at him, at them and at him, and noticing his quiet smile and the sharp canine teeth lying under the red underlip, I noticed, as if he had spoken, that I should be more careful what I wrote, for he would be able to read it. So I determined to write only formal notes now, but to write fully to Mr. Hawkins in secret, and also to Mina. For to her I could only write shorthand, which would puzzle the Count, as he did not see it. When I had written my 2 letters, I sat quiet, reading a book whilst the Count wrote several notes, referring as he wrote them to some books on his table. "Howdy, Under King, are you doing? Welcome in." Then he took up my 2 and placed them on his own, and put by his writing materials, after which, the instant the door had closed behind him, I leaned over and looked at the letters which were face down on the table. I felt no compunction in doing so, for under the circumstances I felt that I should protect myself in every way I could. One of the letters was directed to Samuel F. Billington, number 7, The Crescent, Whitby. Another to Herr Leutner, Varna. The third was to Courts and Co., London, and the fourth to Heron Klopstock and the Billerud Bankers, Budapest. The second and fourth were unsealed, and I was just about to look at them when I saw the door handle move. I sank back in my seat, having just had time to resume my book before the Count, holding still another letter in his hand, entered the room. He took up the letters on the table and stamped them carefully, then turning to me said, "I trust you will forgive me, but I have much work to do in private this evening. You will, I hope, find all things as you wish." At the door he turned, and left with a moment's pause, said, "Let me advise you, my dear young friend, nay, let me warn you in all seriousness that you should leave these rooms and do not by any chance go to sleep in any other part of the castle. It is old and has many memories, and there are bad dreams for those who sleep unwisely. Be warned. Should sleep now or ever overcome you, be like to do, then haste to your own chamber or to these rooms, for your rest will then be safe. But if you do not, be careful in this respect then." He finished his speech in a gruesome way, for he motioned with his hands as if he were washing them. I quite understood. My only doubt was as to whether any dream could be more terrible than the unnatural, horrible net of gloom and mystery which seemed to be closing around me. "You haven't been here for a while? It's great to see you, dear. Hope you've been well." Later. I endorsed the last words written, but this time there is no doubt in question. I shall not fear to sleep in any place where he is not. I have placed the crucifix over the head of my bed. I imagine that my rest is thus freer from dreams, and there it shall remain. "Shane, are you doing well? Welcome, welcome." There he left, and went to my room. After a little while, not hearing any sound, I came out, and went up to the stone stair to where I could look out towards the south. There was some sense of freedom in the vast expanse. Inaccessible through it was to me, as compared to the narrow darkness of the courtyard. Looking out on this, I felt that I was indeed in prison, and I seemed to want a breath of fresh air. Though it were of the night, I am beginning to feel this nocturnal existence tell on me. It is destroying my nerve. I start at my own shadow, and am full of all sorts of horrible imaginings. God knows that there is ground for my terrible fear in this accursed place. I looked out on the beautiful expanse, bathed in yellow, soft moonlight, till it was almost as light as day. And the soft light in the distant hills became melted, and the shadows in the valleys and gorges of velvety blackness. The mere beauty seemed to cheer me. There was peace and comfort in every breath that I drew. As I leaned from the window, my eye was caught by something moving a story below me, and somewhat to my left, where I imagined, from the corner of the rooms that the windows of the Count's room would look out to, the window at which I was stood was tall and deep, stone mullioned, and though weather-worn was still complete. but it was evidently many a day since the case had been there. I drew back behind the stonework and carefully looked out. What I saw was the Count's head coming out from the window. I did not see the face, but I knew the man by the neck and the movement of his back and arms. In any case, I could not mistake the hands, which I had many opportunities of studying. I was at first interested and somewhat amused, for it was wonderful how small a matter will interest and amuse a man when he is a prisoner. But my very feelings changed to repulsion and terror when I saw the whole man slowly emerge from the window and began to crawl down the castle wall over the dreadful abyss, face down with his cloak spreading out behind him like great wings. At first I could not believe my eyes. I thought it was some trick of the moonlight, some weird effect of shadow. But I kept looking, and it could not be no delusion. I saw the fingers and toes grasp the corners of the stones, worn clear by the mortar of the stress of years, and thus, using every projection and inequality, move downwards with considerable speed, just as a lizard moves along a wall. What manner of man is this? Or what manner of creature is it in the semblance of a man? I feel the dread of this horrible place overcoming me. I am in fear, in terrible, awful fear, and there is no escape for me. I am encompassed about with terrors that I dare not drink of.
Hey Elation, how are you doing, love? Welcome, Lighter. Welcome in, and Kage Killer, welcome back, my dear. I hope you had a good... I don't know what you did. Welcome in, and thank you for redeeming kisses, Shane. How are you doing, love? Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you for the hydrate, dears. Elation, you're doing great. I'm glad to hear. Yo, trick or treat. Hi, Ivy, hope you've been well. I love Lation so much, guys. Vic gets a treat. Vic, here's a treat for you. Eddie, you've been a very, very good boy. Mwah.
Sorry, I'm at the end of my iced coffee, and so you can hear the other shit.
Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum.
I forgot how much I enjoyed your ace. Oh, that's very sweet, dear. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a little bit different to the traditional sense, but I enjoy reading for you guys. And Jason Black, thank you so much for redeeming it. Hi Rika, how are you doing, love? Welcome in. Okay. Ooh. 15th of May. Once more I have seen the Count go out in his lizard fashion. He moved downwards in a sidelong way, some 100 feet down, and a good deal to the left. He vanished into some hole or window. When his head had disappeared, I leaned out to try and see more, but with no avail. The distance was too great to allow a proper angle of sight. I knew he had left the castle now, and thought to use the opportunity to explore more than I dared to as yet. I went back to the room and, taking a lamp, tried all the doors. They were all locked, as I'd expected, but the locks were comparatively new. But I went down the stairs to the hall where I had entered originally. I found I could pull back the bolts easily enough and unhook the great chains. But the door was locked, and the key was gone. The key must be in the Count's room. I must watch, should his door be unlocked, so that I might get it and escape. And went on to make a thorough examination of the various stairs and passages and to try the doors that had opened from them. 1 or 2 small rooms near the hall were open, but there was nothing to see in them except old furniture, dusty with age and moth-eaten. At last, however, I found one door at the top of the stairway which, though it seemed locked, gave a little under pressure. I tried harder and found that it was not really locked, but that the resistance came from the fact that the hinges had fallen somewhat, and the heavy door rested on the floor. Here, with many efforts, There was an opportunity which I might not have again, so I exerted myself, and with many efforts forced it back so that I could enter. I was now in a wing of the castle further to the right than the rooms I knew, and a story lower down. From the windows I could see the suite of rooms lying along to the south of the castle, the windows of the end room looking out west and south. On the latter side, as well to the former, there was a great precipice. The castle was built on the corner of a great rock, so that on 3 sides it was quite impregnable, and the great windows were placed here where sling or bow or culverin could not reach, and consequently light and comfort impossible to a position which had to be guarded or secured. To the west was a great valley, and then rising far away, a great jagged mountain fastnesses, rising peak on peak, and sheer rock studded with mountain ash and thorn, whose roots clung in cracks and crevices and crannies by the stone. This was evidently the portion of the castle preoccupied by the ladies in bygone days, for the furniture had more of an air of comfort than any I had seen. Elias R. Silvers, welcome in. Thanks very much for the follow. Windows were curtainless, and the yellow moonlight flooded in through the window and diamond panes, enabled one to see even colours, whilst it softened the wealth of dust which lay all over and disguised in some measure of ravages of time and moth. My lamp seemed to be of little effect in the brilliant moonlight, but I was glad to have it with me, for there was a dread loneliness in the place which chilled my heart and made my nerves tremble. Still, it was better than living alone in the rooms which I had come to hate from the presence of the Count, and after trying a little to school my nerves, I found a soft quietude come over me. Here I am, sitting at a little oak table, where in old times possibly some fair lady sat to pen, with much thought and many blushes, her ill-spent love letter, and writing in my diary in shorthand all that has happened since I closed it last. It is the 19th century, up to date with a vengeance, and yet, unless my senses deceive me, the old centuries had and have powers of their own which mere modernity cannot kill. Later, the morning of the 16th of May. God preserve my sanity, for to this I am reduced. Safety and the assurance of safety, there are things of past. Whilst I live on here, there is but one thing to hope for, that I may not go mad, if indeed I be not already mad. If I be sane, then surely it is maddening to think that of all the foul things that lurk in this hateful place, the Count is the least dreadful to me. That to him alone I can look for safety, even though this can only be whilst I can serve his purpose. Great God, great merciful God, let me be calm, for out of that way lies madness ahead. I begin to get new lights on certain things which have puzzled me. Up to now I never quite knew what Shakespeare meant when he made Hamlet say, "My tablets, quick, my tablets, 'tis meet that I put it down," etc. But now, feeling as though my brain were unhinged, or as if the shock had come from which must end in its undoing, I turned to my diary for its repose. The habit of entering accurately must help to soothe me. The Count's mysterious warning frightened me at the time. It frightens me more, not when I think of it, for in the future, as he had a fearful hold upon me, I shall fear to doubt what he may say. When I had written in my diary and fortunately replaced the book and the pen in my pocket, I felt sleepy. The Count's warning came into mind, and I took displeasure in disobeying it. A sense of sleep was upon me, and with it the obstinacy which sleep brings an outsider. Soft moonlight soothed, and the wide expanse without it gave a sense of freedom which refreshed me. I was determined not to return tonight to the gloom-haunted rooms, but to sleep here, where of old ladies had sat and sung and lived sweet lives, whilst their gentle breasts were sad for their menfolk away in the midst of remorseless wars. I drew a great couch out of its place near the corner, so that as I lay I could look out at the lovely view to the east and south, and unthinking of and uncaring for their dust, compose myself to sleep. I suppose I must have fallen asleep. I hope so. But I fear for all that followed was startlingly real. So real that now, sitting here in the broad, full sunlight of the morning, I cannot in the least believe that it was all sleep. I was not alone. The room was the same, unchanged in any way since I came into it. I could not see along the floor in the brilliant moonlight my own footsteps, marked where I had disturbed the long accumulation of dust. In the moonlight opposite me were 3 young women, ladies by their dress and manner. I thought at the time I must be dreaming when I saw them. They threw no shadow on the floor. They came close to me and looked at me for some time, and then whispered together. 2 were dark and had high aquiline noses like the Count, and great dark piercing eyes that seemed to be almost red when contrasted with the pale yellow moon. The others were fair as can be, with great masses of golden hair and eyes like pale sapphires. I seemed somehow to know her face, and to know it in connection with some dreamy fear. But I could not recollect at the moment how or where. All 3 had brilliant white teeth that shone with pearls against the ruby of their voluptuous lips. There was something about them that made me feel uneasy, some longing, and at the same time some deadly fear. I felt in my heart a wicked, burning desire that they would kiss me with those red lips. It is not good to note that down, lest some day it should meet Mina's eyes and cause her pain. But it is the truth. They whispered together, and then all 3 laughed. Such a silvery, musical laugh, but as hard as though the sound never could have come through the softness of human lips. It was like the intolerable tingling sweetness of water glasses when played on by a cunning hand. The fair girl shook her head coquettishly, and the other 2 urged her on. Go on, you are first, and we shall follow. Yours is the right to begin. The other added, Yes, young and strong, there are kisses for us all. I lay quiet, looking out from under my eyelashes in an agony of delightful anticipation. The fair girl advanced and bent over me till I could feel the movement of her breath upon me. Sweet, it was in one sense, honey sweet and scent, the same tingling through the nerves as her voice, but with a bitter underlying, the sweet, a bitter offensiveness, as one smells in blood. I was afraid to raise my eyelids, but looked out and saw perfectly under the lashes. The girl went on her knees and bent over me, simply gloating. There was a deliberate voluptuousness which was both thrilling and repulsive, and as she arched her neck and she licked her lips like an animal, till I could see in the moonlight the moisture shining on the scarlet lips and on the red tongue as it lapped the white sharp teeth. Lower and lower went her head as the lips went below the range of my mouth and chin and seemed to fasten on my throat. Then she paused, and I could hear the churning sound of her tongue as it licked her teeth and lips. I could feel the hot breath on my neck. Then the skin of my throat began to tingle as one's flesh does when the hand is to tickle it. It approaches nearer and nearer. I could feel the soft shivering touch of the lips on the supersensitive skin of my throat, and hard dents of sharp teeth just touching and pausing there. I closed my eyes in languorous ecstasy and waited with a beating heart. But at that instant another sensation swept through me as quick as lightning. I was conscious of the presence of the Count, and of his being as if lapped in a storm of fury. As my eyes opened involuntarily, I saw his strong hand grasp the slender neck of the fair woman, and with a giant's power draw it back. The blue eyes transformed with fury, and the white teeth clamped with rage, and the fair cheeks blazing red with passion. But the Count, never did I imagine such wrath and fury. Even to the demons of the pit, his eyes were positively blazing. The red light in them was lurid, as if the flames of hellfire blazed behind them. His face was deathly pale, and the lines of it were hard like drawn wires. The thick eyebrows that met over the nose now seemed like a heaving bar of white-hot metal. And a fierce sweep of his arm, he hurled the woman from him, and he motioned to the others as though he were beating them back. It was the same imperious gesture that I had seen used to the wolves, in a voice which, though low and almost in a whisper, seemed to cut through the air and then ring in the room. He said, "How dare you touch him, any of you? How dare you cast your eyes on him when I have forbidden it? Back, I tell you all, this man belongs to me. Beware how you meddle with him, or you'll have to deal with me." The fair girl, with a laugh of ribald coquetry, turned to answer him. "You yourself never loved. You never loved." On this the other women joined, and such a mirthless, hard, soulless laughter rang through the room that it almost made me faint to hear. It seemed like the pleasure of fiends. Then the Count turned, after looking at my face attentively, and said in a whisper, "Yes, I too can love. You yourselves can tell it from the past. It is not so. Well, now, I promise you that when I am done with him, you shall kiss him at your whim. Now go, go. I must awaken him, for there is work to be done." We to have nothing tonight," I said one of them. "We to have nothing tonight," said one of them, with a low laugh as she pointed to the bag which I had thrown upon the floor, and which moved as though there was something living inside it. For answer, he nodded his head. One of the women jumped forward and opened it, but if my ears did not deceive me, there was a gasp and a low wail, as of a small, half-smoldered child. The women closed round, whilst I was aghast with horror. But as I looked, they disappeared, and with the dreadful bag there was no door beneath them, and they could have not passed me without my noticing. They seemed to fade into the rays of moonlight and pass out through the window, for I could not see them outside, the dim shadowy forms for a moment before they entirely faded away. Then horror overcame me, and I sank down unconscious. Chapter 3, Fit. Bork, bork. Yo, Grace, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, dear. Blah. Blah. You're the hydrate L. Oh, that's really loud. I might go get some water, actually. Thank you for the bus to check as well. I don't know, when he was lying there and he was like getting kind of turned on by the thought of like the vampires, the girl vampires like biting him, I was like, wow, this is such a mood. He was like, damn, hope they bite into me soon. They have that effect, they do be having that effect. Goddamn Dracula freaking getting in between me and my vampire women fantasies. How dare he? God damn it. Is he just like fattening me up for slaughter? Is that what he's doing? He's like, nah, this guy's not fat enough. I should feed him another month and then he'll be ripe. Okay, I'm gonna grab some water. I'll be right back. Give me a sec. What? She's gone. I am not gone. I'm not gone. No, needs him for business. Ah, I see. Vampire tall lady. I mean, I'm not sure if they're tall. There were 3 of them though.
Too dark, one fair. I'm a fan of dark-haired ladies myself. They're as tall as you want them to be. Yeah, it's a book. You can imagine them as tall as you want. I'll probably read one more chapter. This story is really good though. Like, I'm like actually very entranced about what's going to happen. Because this is only chapter 4 and there's like fucking 300 pages. I've only read 36. There's like 300 more pages. And I'm like, but he already found out that he's Dracula. My boy out here climbing the walls like a fucking lizard. What else is there? What's gonna fucking happen? Is there gonna be like a fucking war? What's with the wolves? It's pretty good. I haven't actually seen the movie related to this, so I'm really excited to know what happens. It is a classic horror novel, I guess, and I can really kind of see where the inspiration comes from in terms of like other media and in terms of this being a classic horror. Change it to Miss Best Rats. Wait, no spoilers. No spoilers. I wanna see him turn into a wolf. That'd be pretty hot. I mean it kind of seems like he's not hot though. Except that the ladies were hot. Wait for it. Okay, well. Oh. It's a wild ride. That scene with the women in the movie is called How was the movie night? I was traveling, I can't connect. We watched Get Out. It was good. I feel like it definitely hits a lot harder the first time you watch it. Because I think because it's not like a traditional horror in the sense that like it doesn't it's more so like a thriller. Like it relies on like suspense and building tension and stuff. Once you know like the ending, I kind of like felt okay, you know? Like it wasn't as bad, but it was pretty good. Kind of rewatching it and seeing details that Peele had laid out for like themes that would get brought up later in the movie. I've never watched Get Out yet, and it's very good. I would highly recommend it. We watched it for our Discord movie night. If you would be interested, we can hang out. We're having another movie night this week. We're watching The Conjuring for Spoonie's birthday. Because it's Spoonie's favourite. Is it your favourite, Spoonie? It's one of my favourites too. A good old spook. I haven't watched it in a while. I remember first watching it and I'm like, this is great. This is exactly what horror should be. It's just like such a classic, like, what is it called? It's like such a classic haunted house story. And like they do the fucking tropes just so well. It's just done well. You know? I leave Tuesday. No, Kage, no. I hope you have a good. Are you going on a trip? I hope you have a good trip, my dear. Oh my god, wait. I'm getting a little hot and heavy. You leave for Una. Okay, what's that? Oh, thank you, Spoonie. I was like, it was so cold this morning, and now I fucking... Oh, you're moving! Best of luck with your move there, Kage Killer. Best of luck. Una Lakit. Ah, I don't know what that is. Bjork? Bobok. Okay. Oh my god, it's getting hot in the room, actually. I'm gonna turn on my fan. Can you guys hear that? Is that annoying? Can you guys... Wait, I might move the mic a little bit. Is that okay? You can't hear it? Okay, sweet. I think the Persona music covers it up. Hear what? Yeah, exactly. Oh, you didn't hear anything? Okay. I have a tiny little desk fan. A teeny tiny little desk fan that I turn on in the summer. Because it gets so hot in this room. Oh. And Kosaka Shiori, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome, welcome, dear. Thank you so much for dropping by. My name is Evie. We're reading a little bit of Dracula today. I'm here for my Eve content before I leave. Oh, you're so cute. I'm glad. It's always great to see y'all. I hope you have a really good trip and best of luck with your move. Your summer is then down under. How was your day or night? Having a good time. I went out to get a little bit of a coffee date with my partner. Bought a hash brown from Macca's. bought a bit of a hashy from Macca's. That's the most Australian thing I've ever said. Favorite horror monster? Demons. Can you tell? Ooh. SpongeBob, how you doing? Well, welcome in. Yeah, it's starting to get hotter here, but I feel like, particularly in my state, like the weather is so like turbulent, so my skin is suffering a little bit, adjusting to the kind of, what's it called, adjusting to the changes in temperature. Having background noise, no worries, I'm glad. Feel free to pop me in the background if you have stuff to do, maybe have some homework to get to, or perhaps in the background while you try to sleep. I love listening to you read stories. I really enjoy reading stories for you guys. I feel like I say this a lot. If you're new, if you're not new, sorry. Passed out hard listening to you. Oh my dear, I'm glad you were able to have a good rest. I dislike summer because I sweat like no tomorrow. I love summer. I am a bitch. You know how they were like the summer, what is it? The young and gay love summer, but the young and gay love the sun? That's me. That's literally me. I am the young and gay. It's me, the young and gay. It's me, I'm the young and gay, alright? I feel like I get really bad, what's it called, like seasonal depression? Like when it's raining and it's really gloomy, like this winter kicked my ass. Because I feel like it rained so often. Young, wild and free, no, young and gay. But I feel like when the sun comes out, I feel like my will, my eagerness, the joy of living is like is photosynthesized again. Young and gauge. Can I get a gauge in chat? I don't know if I have the gauge in my gauge. Oh, I don't have it. No, where is it? Is anyone a Noomba or a meat? Yeah, thank you very much, Spoony. I get seasonal depression in summer. My body doesn't handle heat well and I get depressed. Oh, I know people get like the opposite. It's so terrible. I'm from Alaska, so as an Alaskan, it's mostly traditional to love snow. Ayo. I would love to visit Alaska one day. I am not honestly a big fan of the cold. I think I'm very much a person that likes the heat and the I don't know, some sort of warmth. I feel like I would like die in a country where it rains a lot. Like if I lived in like Europe or like London, I feel like I would die. I can't if it's like raining all the time. It makes me so upset. I love the cold because I'm a big hoodie kind of guy. Big hoodies are for all the time. But Australia doesn't actually have snow unless you go to like certain places, so I don't get the pleasure, I guess, of having that aspect of winter. Alaska is bland. I've been here my entire life. It's boring sometimes, but the view, I imagine, the wildlife and the environment must be so beautiful up there. I love the cold while I do sky and rock climbing. I love to do both. That sounds amazing. Oh, Gage is just a stupid emote. It's a stupid emote. I think it's from Noomies, and also I think Mina has one now. I'm not sure. Don't underestimate. Oh, I've heard moose are like kind of fucked. I love the smell of rain. Me too, like just before it rains, like the smell of it. Mina made one too, of course she did. If you're a hoodie in summer, you die. I imagine so. Hey, God. I need to have one. Maybe I'll ask Mina to make one for me too, and it'll be Evie Gauge. And then we're gonna get a gauge in chat. I'll ask Mina after stream. I'll ask her after stream. Oh my god, guys, I miss my friends so much. Wait, do you have a winter theme mode? It's so funny you say that because I'm actually getting a summer outfit done.
I was talking with my friends and with my art mum, and I was like, should I get a winter outfit or a summer outfit? Because it will be summer, you know, during the holiday season. But it would be so weird of me to get a full winter outfit done because it's gonna be so fucking hot. Like, it's like ridiculous to pretend that it is remotely cold in Australia during summer. Like, I would be boo-boo to fooling you. Like, looking at myself wearing a jacket as an anime girl makes me feel hot. Like, that's really how fucking hot it is. How hot does it get? You know, with global warming, with good old global warming, it's starting to get like, I guess, around like mid-30s. Some, if it's really bad, it'll get to like the 40s, but on good days it's around like a high 20s. I like when they're like a high 20s. Okay, I need to look up the fucking Fahrenheit for y'all. Celsius to Fahrenheit. I'm not about to do all that in my head. Mid-30s. 35 is around like 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and if it's like a high, like a 27 degrees would be like an 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which honestly to me is the perfect temperature. But you know, global warming, it do be getting hotter these days. I'm a little scared for our summer as well, just because of all the bushfires that happened last time. But alas, what are we to do? Sleepy Sapphire, how are you doing? Oh, welcome. 40 degrees, 104, that's a lot. That's really bad. Evie, is that bat friend of yours new or old? It's new. It's just a little asset that I found for Halloween. Should we name them? What do you guys think? 24 degrees is perfect for you? Yeah, but how... But I was gonna say, but how often do you get that for us in fucking London? How often do you get that in fucking England, eh? It's 7 right now? That's fucking cold. Our winters get to like -20. I could never. I feel like Australians are so pussy when it comes to the cold. Like, if it even touches like below 15 degrees Celsius, bitches be out here in like puffer jackets. Like, they're so dramatic. Me, I'm bitches. I'm fucking bitches. It gets so cold. Why is it 15 degrees? And then like, I'll talk to people and they'll be like, yeah, it's -20. I'm out here shoveling some snow, and me like, oh bro, there's a little bit of a breeze. Like, fucking shut up. And I realize that we're little pussy bitches for that, okay? I realize that. But let me have my puffer jacket. 18 degrees is perfect for you. It's a little cold for me. I've lived outside in -40 degrees. Your eyes will freeze when the air... What the fuck? How do you even live like that? How do you live like that? Like, how do you go about your daily stuff? Like, do you have to wear like little goggles? The global warming at least once a year. Global warming be happening multiple times a year, all year. I don't think you'll last in Alaska's winters. Aren't the days and the nights really long as well? Like, you have like limited hours in the day because you're so like high up in the world. I don't know how to explain it. Just spend some time in those frigid places and you'll see those people walking in underwear in the middle of winter for some reason. Bro, it's so crazy because sometimes I'll literally watch like those like MMA fighters, and they'll do like training and shit. And they'll do training, and then like they'll just casually get into like a fucking, I don't know, like a -20 degree, like out in the fucking lake in the Russian winter or some shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? What is happening here? And they'll be training out in the snow lifting shit. I'm like, what? God has favorites. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, God truly has favorites. The ice baths, yeah, but they'll do it in like actual fucking like actually out in the wild. It's getting dark at 4 p.m. I would hate that. I hate that so much. It makes me so annoyed when I finish work and it's dark outside, because that's so depressing. And then you get it and you're driving home, or you're on the way home and it's already dark, and you're like, man, now I can't even do shit. That's why I like summer, because there's so much more time in the day. Like, it'll be 8 p.m. and I can still go out and have a good time, you know? It'll be dark for a few months. Oh my god, that's terrible. Went from 28 degrees to 7 degrees in 1 week. Oh my gosh. Global warming really do be like this, hey? I prefer dealing with the cold and the heat. A lot of people prefer that, actually. I know people will be like, oh, you can take off, you can put on clothes, but you can't take any off. But let me tell you, after a certain period of cold, alright, there are only so many layers you can put on. and then nothing will make a difference because it's that cold. You know what I mean? Have you ever been in that cold? I haven't, but I know. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so many layers you can put on before it's just like, it doesn't make a difference anymore. Me laughing wearing 17 layers. There's only so many layers you can take off for the heat. I just stay inside. Don't act like you guys are going outside, huh? Don't be lying saying you guys are going outside. I'll tell you. I'm not fucking going outside. I'm not fucking going outside. You think I'm going outside in the 40-degree weather? Y'all don't even go outside normally. What are you talking about? Taking off clothes. Who do you think you're fucking talking to? like chat like streamer. I fucking know you guys. I've seen training where people cut holes in the ice. Yeah, like those ones, Well, the sport you don't have I guess so. It's like here, sunrise is 7 AM and dark by... What is the point? I guess still out on like a... Are you still out on the boats, Spoonie? When it's dark, you have to be careful of moose. The moose will be blending in the black tub. Why is that so ominous? But I've seen videos where people like are driving alongside or they notice moose, and moose are like fucking huge. It's like kind of crazy how huge they are. And in Australia, people talk a lot of shit about our wildlife, but we don't have anything that is remotely that big. You know, like it's kind of terrifying that something like that will just like fucking pop up. You know, places that are like have moose or like bears, like that something will just like turn up and I'll be like, well, I guess I'm dead. You know, like what do I do? And if there's a like poisonous spider, what do? I just leave. I just go away. I just walk away. What's this not gonna come after me? Or like I step on it, you know, it's dead. You know. The moose are tall as a car. That's so fucked. The moose runs health. That's so fucked. AJ and Marksman, thanks for reteaming, and I'm new. Welcome in, and thank you so much for the follow, Jake Black. Oh my god, I thought it was Jack Black for a sudden. I was like, oh my god, big fan. Thanks for redeeming. I'm new. Welcome into chat, guys. Welcome in. Me laughing, wearing 17 layers. How do you even fit 17 layers up? Cranked up the heater in the fireplace. That's why it's nice. It's nice staying in though, I will admit, when it's cold. There's a certain like coziness, you know? Ridiculous, you can get put on infinite layers and blankets until you can't breathe. We touch grass, I swear. I know you guys don't. You don't have to lie to me. Look, I totally touch grass. The only outside I know is my screensaver on my PC. Yours is outside? What's my screensaver right now? Oh, it is outside. Mine's a... Oh, fuck. Mine's a screensaver of The Legend of Zelda. And the horse is... It's on Wallpaper Engine. I think the horse is... Epona, sorry. Epona is drinking some water in a stream. It's nice though. I don't know how cold it get you still... What? Sorry, I'm not sure. I understand that. No, I'm on short duty. I just fix the boats now. Ah, that's good, that's good. It must be so... I imagine it would be so, like... Would be so depressing to, like, wake up on the boats, on the sea, day after day in the morning. I know you wake up really early morning for the shifts as well. I love going outside, but I live far away from everything. I hate that. I think it's nice. I used to live, like, just right bang in the middle of the city. And it was nice, like the convenience of it, but I think that I'm just like so much more of a homebody, and I have such like so much of a better time out in the suburbs where it's quieter and I'm out like closer to nature. Hey yo, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. Thank you so much for dropping by. Thank you for the raid, Nico May. Ayo, you were doing ASMR. Welcome in, my love. Thank you so much for the raid. My name is Evie, if you are new here, and welcome to your brand new eternity. I'm a demon. We do ASMR here. I like storytelling, spooky things of the spooky variety. Oh my god, I need to fucking write an introduction sometimes. And thank you so much for dropping by. We also do some gaming sometimes, and singing and art, but thank you so much for sharing your lovely community with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you had an amazing stream, and thank you again for the raid. Nico May. Oh my god, your model is so cute, my dear. Your model is so cute.
Thank you so much for the follow as well, Nico May. Thank you, thank you. And Spoonie, thank you so much for gifting a sub to, do you prefer Nico or do you prefer May? Nico. Thank you so much for gifting us up. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, feel free to sit back and relax if you would like to. Don't feel any pressure to stay if you have, if you're sick of being on the computer. I know streaming is incredibly tiring, so feel free to sit back and relax if you would like to listen to a little story. Or, don't feel pressured to stay if you were tired. Nico Nico ni. Nico Nico ni. Anata no wata. Don't get me started. Don't get me fucking started. Okay. We've talked about moose for a long time. Shall we continue? We're reading Dracula today, Nico. Thank you again for the raid, by the way. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you had an amazing stream, dear. And thank you. Your voice is so soothing. I'm ready to. Thank you. That's so sweet. I used to be a really big fan of Love Live. Alright, I don't like to admit it. My favorite was Ellie. I love her. About time, yeah. You're going to bed. Have a good night and a good stream. Thanks for dropping by, Nelly Yuki. Welcome, sorry. Have a good night's rest, dear. Mwah. There you go. Thank you, I love ASMR though, helps you wind down. Story away. Ayo. Thank you so much, dear. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Kage, for the lurky lurk. Mwah. Enjoy your games, dear. And Marshy, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, welcome in. My name is Evie, if you are new. Thanks for dropping by and spending a little time with us today. So we're on chapter 4 as of now. Sorry, I'm gonna move my mic a little closer. Ooh, we're on chapter 4. He just got nearly bitten by some hot, what was I gonna say, some hot vampire women. Unfortunately, we were cock-blocked by the man himself, Dracula. Love life, you say? Yeah, my favorite's Ellie. If I need to head out, hope you have a wonderful rest of the stream. No worries. Thank you so much for dropping by, Riven, as always. Mwah. Have a wonderful rest, dear. Kotori is fave. Oh my god, Kotori is so cute. I would. Okay, let's not get into love lives. That is for another day. That's for another day. Okay, let me put my glasses on again. I can't fucking see. And Bitter Shadow, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. Is it because I like love life? Kotori is super cute. PMU Shift, thank you for the head pats. Love and welcome in. Okay, so. Zaga the Dagger, thank you as well for the follow. Welcome in, welcome in. Hey, chapter 4. Is that very quiet? It is, it is. Just a little background music for, what's it called? For vibe. Your pleasure. It's great to see you and meet brand new fresh blood for the office. I mean, new interns. I mean, new work, yeah. New employees. Ambiance, yeah. To complete the vibe check, of course. I'm gonna have a little bit of water and then we're gonna start again. Oh, it said that there was a raid again. Nikomai, thank you for the raid. It said that there was a raid again. Wait, did it say there's a raid again for you guys? Thank you, Stream Elements. Yeah, god damn it. Thank you so much for the follow. Rando Beam, welcome, welcome. Oh, sorry. Raid, you are offline. Ah. I did right as Nico and oh, I'm so sorry for that, love. Thank you so much for the raid, Hona. Welcome in, welcome in. My name is Evie. If you're new here, welcome to your brand new eternity. My name is Evie, and I am a demon. We like to do ASMR here. We also enjoy storytelling of the spooky variety, and we also play games and do art. And what else do we do? We sing sometimes. So thank you so much, Raiders, for sharing your wonderful community with me. Thank you so much, Hona. I hope you had an amazing stream. And you did just chatting. You have a pleasant voice. Thank you. That's very sweet of you, dear. Thank you, thank you. NPC, how are you doing? Oh my fucking god. Jesus Christ. Ayo, thank you so much. Ethereal Ari, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for the raid, my dear. How are you doing? Thank you so much. I hope you had an amazing fucking stream. Ayo, ayo. I think I was, oh my god. What is happening? What is happening? What is Hey NPC, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the 20 gifted, my dear. Thank you so much.
And Hona, thank you so much for the 100 biddies. Hey yo, thank you so much, my dear. Triple raid. Yeah, fuck. Are you ready? Oh my god, thank you so much for the raid. Ethereal Artie, thank you so much. I think I dropped in your stream. I like vibing to ASMR when I don't stream as well. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you had an amazing stream. My name is Evie if you are new. Well, welcome to your brand new eternity. I'm a demon that is particularly fond of storytelling and ASMR of the spooky variety. Prepare your defenses. Yeah, stream elements is really struggling. Yeah. We also play games and we sing and do art sometimes. And thank you so much for dropping by and sharing your lovely communities with me. I hope you have a great time, guys. We're doing a little bit of narration and storytelling today. We're reading Bram Stoker's Dracula. Oh my god, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Ethereal Artie. Thank you so much, thank you so much. And thank you NPC for gifting a sub to Stream Elements. Thank you so much, my loves. Thank you. I really, really appreciate the support and the love. And feel free to sit back and relax, Artie. I know streaming is really tiring, same with you, Hona. And oh my gosh, Jesus. Oh, thank you so much for gifting. Oh my god, what is thank you so much for gifting subs, my loves. Thank you. And thank you again, Nico, for the raid, as well as Hona and Ari. Feel free to sit back and relax if you would like to. Don't feel the need or the pressure to stay if you are tired. And thank you again for sharing your lovely communities with me. I will take very, very good care of them. And AC Wolf, thanks for redeeming, and I'm off to go relax. Thank you for taking care of the gems, hun. No worries, dear. Thank you again for the raid, and hope you have a very, very good afternoon, morning, evening. Take care, my dear. And God, thank you so much for the boost train, my dears. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I am so touched. I'm actually prepping for debut, so all the support helps immensely. So thank you. Let me go through and thank everyone. Oh my god, I missed so many. Okay, what is it? What was I up to? Rando Bean? This is the first one you've seen, ayo. Rando Bean, thank you so much for the follows. Alahona, VT, Ruina, you're final. Thank you so much for the follows. Owner of a ferret, welcome in. AC Wolf, thank you for the follows. And Rick, thank you for redeeming. And for completing our sub goal for today, you also get another. I hate it fucking so much, Jesus Christ. Kazuri, thank you so much for the follow. And thank you NPC for gifting 20 community subs. And Gorcha, thank you so much for redeeming, and Ari, thank you so much for the follow. And Bardic Inspiration. Oh, it's Bardic Inspiration. Thank you so much for the follow as well. Hona, thank you again for the 100 biddies. And thank you for the hype train, guys. Jesus, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. And Shane, thank you for redeeming kisses. Confidential, thanks for redeeming. I'm a new person I've never ever seen before. Thank you for redeeming. Thank you for gifting a sub to Ari Cheeky Breaky. And thank you so much for gifting a... Oh my god, 6 months tier 1 sub to Stream Elements. Thank you so much, NPC. Oh my god, my dear. Thank you, Nova Kona, for the follow, as well as Wisco. Let me know if you have a name you would prefer to be called, my dears. And thank you so much for the follow, Gojo Main, Chilamila, and Kanari Yabai. Welcome in, the Olive God as well. And oh my god, NPC. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. You're too sweet, my dear. Please save your money for yourself. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself first. You're off to bed. Thank you so much, my dear. I hope that you're having an amazing day, and as always, thank you so much for the support and the love. All the love and support that you guys give is directly goes into investing back into the stream, so I prefer Wisco, okay.
Thanks for letting me know though. What was I going to say? It goes directly back into investing into the stream and making it the best possible experience for you guys. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. It means truly a lot that you guys support and believe in little old me. I will never, never, ever not be grateful for it. The Olive God, thanks for redeeming. I'm new. Welcome in, my dear. Hope you're having a good time. And thank you so much, Taran AC, for the follow. And thank you again, NPC, and everyone else. If you were gifted a sub by NPC or anyone in chat today, please make sure to thank them. Thank your sub daddies, sub mummies, sub non-binary folk, West Coast guardians, whatever you may have it. And enjoy your ad-free viewing and your remotes. Thank you so much. And Nogi, you are not new, but welcome in. Person I've never seen before. Wow. Guys, you prefer Nova? Okay, thanks for letting me know, dear. I'll try and remember that one. Oh, what was I saying? And Sticky Slime, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, my dear. And thank you so much for the boost train, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Every little bit of support really, really helps. So thank you. And Spoony, thank you for redeeming a hydrate. I've been talking for a long time. So girl, how you doing? And for the posture check as well, thank you. And AC Wolf, thanks for redeeming a woo. Okay. Hi Confidential, hope you're doing well. Thank you again for the raids, guys. I really, oh my fucking god. Oh my gosh. Dude, thank you so much for the raid, my dear. Welcome in. I hope you had an amazing stream. And thank you for sharing your community with us. Hi, Div sent us. We will do our best. I hope you had a great stream. Thank you so much for the raid. Are you playing Phasma? Ayo. I hope you had an amazing time. If you are new here, sorry if you've heard this spiel a lot. If you are new, my name is Evie. Welcome to your new identity. I am a demon that enjoys doing ASMR of the spooky variety. We also do gaming and what else do we do? We do art and singing here. So thank you so much for sharing your community with me. I hope you had an amazing stream. Feel free to sit back and relax if you would like to, or don't feel pressured to stay if you had other things to get to. Toxic gets a treat. Toxic. What? Sorry. What pronouns do you go by, love? And Lizbel, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. If you are from the raids, I hope you are having an amazing day today. We're back-to-back raids, yeah. I really, really appreciate the support, guys. I am incredibly touched. Thank you so much. Ill-equipped with it. Toxic, what pronouns do you prefer to go by, love? Or I can just go. Or was it Azulin? Let me know. But we're reading Dracula today as a classic horror. We've read up to chapter 4, which will be the first, I think. Wait, was it? Yeah, so this is the first time I'm actually reading through this book, but we're up to chapter 4 as of today, so I hope you guys are in for a good store. Buzzard Breath, thank you so much for the follow. And Toxic, good Toxic. You've been a very, very good Toxic. Thank you so much for redeeming a trick or treat. Here is your treat. Mwah. There you go, you good Toxic. Jesus, Shane, you are stinky as fuck. Okay. Thank you so much for the boost train, my loves. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Okay, so, shall we continue on? Oh my god, that's a lot of recommendations. Okay, so, chapter 4. Jonathan Harker's journal continued. Simishu, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. And as a little PSA, I won't be able to reply to your lovely comments or your follows or subs, etc. until after, until the end of the story or the end of the period. I'm going to head to bed. Have a great night. Thank you again for the raid, my dear. Big mwah. Have a very good rest. I woke in my bed. If it be that I had not dreamt,
The Count must have carried me here. I tried to satisfy myself on the subject, but could not arrive at any unquestionable result. To be fair, there were certain small evidences, such as that my clothes were folded and laid by in a manner which was not my habit. My watch was still unwound. I am rigorously accustomed to wind it to the last thing before going to bed, and many such details. But these things are no proof, for they may have been evidences that my mind was not as usual, and for some cause or other I had certainly been much upset. I must watch for proof. Of one of these things I am glad. If it was that the Count carried me here and undressed me, he must have been hurried in his task, for my pockets are intact. I am sure this diary would have been a mystery to him which he would not have brought. He would have taken or destroyed it. As I looked round the room, although it must have been to me so full of fear, it is now a sort of sanctuary, for nothing can be more dreadful than those awful women who were, who are, waiting to suck my blood. 18th of May. I have been down to look at that room again in daylight, for I must know the truth. When I got to the doorway at the top of the stairs, I found it closed. It had been so forcibly driven against the jarb that part of the woodwork had been splintered. I could see that the bolt of the lock had not been shot, but the door is fastened from the inside. I fear it was no dream, and I must act on this surmise. 19th of May. I am surely in the toils. Last night the Count asked me in the suavest tones to write 3 letters, one saying that my work here was nearly done, that I should start for home within a few days, another that I was starting on the next morning from the time of the letter, and the third that I had left the castle and arrived at Bistrix. I would fain have rebelled, but felt that in the present state of things it would be madness to quarrel openly with the Count, whilst I am absolutely in his power. He knows that I know too much, and that I must not live, lest I be dangerous to him. My only chance is to prolong my opportunities. Something may occur which will give me the chance to escape. I saw in his eyes something that gathering wrath, which was manifest when he hurled that fair woman from him. He explained to me that posts were few and uncertain, and that my writing now would ensure ease of mind to my friends, and he assured me with so much impressiveness that he would countermand the later letters, which would be held over at Bistritz until due time in case chance would admit of my prolonging my stay, and that to oppose him would have been to create suspicion. I therefore pretended to fall in with his views and asked him what dates I should put on the letters. He calculated a minute and then said, the first should be June 12th, the second June 19th, and the third June 29th. Thank you so much for the follow. Oh hi, and Steel Soul, welcome in. 28th of May. There is a chance of escape, or at any rate of being able to send word home. A band of Siskany have come to the castle and are encamped in the courtyard. These are Digisler. I have notes of them in my book. They are peculiar to this part of the world. They're allied to the ordinary G-words all the world over. There are thousands of them in Hungary and Transylvania, who are almost outside all law. They attach themselves, as a rule, to many great noble or boyar, and call themselves by his name. They are fearless and without religion, save superstition, and talk only of their varieties of the Romani tongue. I shall write some letters home, and shall try to get to them, to have them posted. I have already spoken to them through my window to begin acquaintanceship. They took their hats off and made obeisance and many signs, which, however, I could not understand any more than I could have spoken language. I have written the letters. Mina's is in shorthand, and I simply ask Mr. Hawkins to communicate with her. To her I have explained my situation, but without the horrors which I may only surmise. It would shock and frighten her to death were do I expose my heart to her. Should the letters not carry, then the Count shall not know yet my secret or extent of my knowledge. I have given the letters. I threw them through the bars of my window with a gold piece, and made what signs I could to have them posted. The man who took them pressed them to his heart and bowed, and then put them in his cap. I could do no more. I stole back to the study and began to read. As the Count did not come in, I have written here. The Count has come. He sat down beside me and said in the smoothest of voices as he opened 2 letters, the Sizgni have given me these, of which, though I know not whence they come, I shall of course take care. See, he must have looked it. One is from you, and to my friend Peter Hawkins, the other. Here he caught sight of the strange symbols as he opened the envelope, and the dark look came into his face and his eyes blazed wickedly. Oh, the other is a vile thing, an outrage upon friendship and hospitality. It is not signed. Well, it cannot matter to us. And he calmly held the letter and envelope in the flame of the lamp till they were consumed. Then he went on. A letter to Hawkins, that of course I shall send on, since it is yours. Your letters are sacred to me. Your pardon, my friend, that unknowingly I did break the seal. Will you not cover it again? He held out the letter to me, and with a courteous bow handed me a clean envelope. I could only redirect it and hand it to him in silence. When he went over to it, the room, I could hear the key turn softly. A minute later, I went over and tried it, and the door was locked. I could only redirect it and hand it to him in silence. When he went out of the room, I could hear the key turn softly. A minute later, when an hour or 2 after, the Count came softly into the room. His coming awakened me, for I had gone to sleep on the sofa. He was very courteous and very cheery in his manner, and seeing that I had been sleeping, he said, "Oh, my friend, you are tired. Go to bed. There is the surest rest. I may not have the pleasure of talk tonight, since there are many labours to me, but you will sleep, I pray." I passed to my room and went to the bed, and strange to say, slept without dreaming. Despair has its own calms. 31st of May. This morning when I awoke, I thought I would provide myself with some papers and envelopes from my bag to keep them in my pocket, so that I might write in case I should get an opportunity. But again a surprise, again a shock. Every scrap of paper was gone, and with it all my notes, my memorabilia relating to railways and travel, my letter of credit, in fact all that might be useful to me were I once outside the castle. I sat and pondered a while, and then in some thought occurred to me, I made search of my portmanteau, and in the wardrobe where I had placed my clothes. The suit in which I had travelled was gone, and also my overcoat and rug. I could find no trace of them everywhere. This looked like some new scheme of villainy. 17th of June. This morning, as I was sitting on the edge of my bed, cudgelling my brains, I heard without a crackling of whips and pounding of scraping of horses, feet up the rocky path beyond the courtyard. With joy I hurried to the window and saw drive into the yard 2 great litre wagons, each drawn by 8 sturdy horses, and at the end of each a Slovak, and his wide hat, great nail-studded belt, dirty sheepskin and high boots. They had also their long staves in hand. I ran to the door intending to descend, to try and join them through the main hall, as I thought that way might be opened for them. Again a shock. My door was fastened on the outside. I'm gonna go bye everyone, have a good night, got work tomorrow. No worries, thank you so much for dropping by, Whisker. Hope you have a very lovely sleep, dear. Mwah. Thank you so much for the follow, Corny. Corny? Welcome, dear. Thank you so much for dropping by. Then I ran to my window and cried to them. They looked up at me stupidly and pointed, but just then the hetman of the Sizgni came out, and seeing them pointing to my window said something, at which they laughed. Henceforth, no effort of mine, no piteous cry or agonized entreaty would make them even look at me. They resolutely turned away. The later wagons contained great square boxes with handles of thick rope. These were evidently empty by the ease of which the Slovaks handled them, and by their resonance as though they were roughly moved. When they were all unloaded and packed in a great heap in one corner of the yard, the Slovaks were given some money by the Sizgni, and spitting on it for luck, lazily went each to his horse's head. Shortly afterwards, I heard the cracking of whips die away in the distance. 24th of June. Last night, the Count left me early and locked himself in his own room. As soon as I dared, ran up the winding stair and looked out of the window which opened south. I thought I could watch the Count, for there is something going on. The Sizgani had quartered somewhere in the castle and are doing work of some kind. I know it, for now and then I hear a faraway muffled sound as of mattock and spade. And wherever it is, it must be the end of some ruthless villainy. I had been at the window somewhat less than half an hour when I watched something coming out of the Count's window. I drew back and watched carefully and saw the whole man emerge. It was a new shock to me, and to find that he had on the suit of clothes which I had worn whilst travelling here, and slung over his shoulder the terrible bag which I had seen the woman take away. There could be no doubt as to his quest, and in my garb too. This, then, is his new scheme of evil, that he will allow others to see me as they think, so that he may both leave evidence that I have been in the villages or towns posting my own letters, and that any wickedness which he may do shall be by the local people attributed to me. It makes me rage to think that this can go on, and whilst I am shut up in here, a veritable prisoner, but without that protection of the law which is even a criminal's right and consolation. I thought I would watch for the Count's return, and for a long time sat doggedly at the window. Then I began to notice that there were some quaint little specks floating in the rays of the moonlight. They were like the tiniest grains of dust, and they whirled round and gathered in clusters in a nebulous sort of way. I watched them with a sense of soothing, and a sort of calm stole over me. I leaned back in the abrasure in a more comfortable position so that I could fully enjoy more fully the aerial gamboling.
Thank you for reading for us. I'm in the midst of finishing up my laundry before heading to bed late. No worries, Leaps of Faith. Hope you've been well, dear. Something made me start up. A low, piteous howling of dogs somewhere far below in the valley, which was hidden from my sight. Lower it seemed to ring in my ears, and the floating motes of dust to take new shapes to the sound as they danced in the moonlight. I felt myself struggling to awake to some call of my instincts. Nay, my very soul was struggling, and my half-remembered sensibilities were striving to answer the call. I was being hypnotized. Quicker and quicker danced the dust. The moonbeams seemed to quiver as they went by me in the mass of gloom beyond. More and more they gathered, till they seemed to take dim phantom shapes. And then I started, broad awake and in full possession of my senses, and ran screaming from the place. The phantom shapes, which were becoming gradually materialized from the moonbeams, were those 3 ghostly women to whom I was doomed. I fled, and felt somewhat safer in my own room, where there were no moonlight, and where the lamp was burning brightly. When a couple of hours had passed, I heard something stirring in the Count's room, something like a sharp wail, quickly suppressed, and then there was silence, deep, awful silence, which chilled me. With a beating heart, I tried the door, but was locked in my prison and could do nothing. I sat down and simply cried. As I sat, I heard a sound in the courtyard without the agonized cry of a woman. I rushed to the window and, throwing it up, peered between the bars. There, indeed, was a woman with dishevelled hair, holding her hands over her heart as one distressed from running. She was leaning against the corner of the gateway when she saw my face at the window and threw herself forward and shouted in a voice laden with menace, "Monster, give me back my child." She threw herself on her knees and, raising up her hands, cried the same words in tones which wrung my heart. Then she tore her hair and beat her breast and abandoned herself to all violences of extravagant emotion. Finally she threw herself forward, and though I could not see her, I could hear the beating of her naked hands upon the door. Somewhere, high overhead, probably on the tower, I heard the voice of the Count calling in his harsh metallic whisper. His call seemed to be answered from far and wide by the howling of wolves.
Before many minutes had passed, a pack of them poured, like a pent-up dam when liberated, through the wide entrance in the courtyard. There was no cry from the woman, and the howling of the wolves was but short. Before long they streamed away singly, licking their lips. I could not pity her, for I knew what had become of her child, and she was better dead. What shall I do? What can I do? What can I escape from this dreadful thing of night, gloom, and fear?
25th of June.
No man knows, till he has suffered from the night, how sweet and dear to his heart and eye the morning can be. When the sun grew so high his morning that it struck the top of the great gateway opposite my window, the high spot which it touched seemed to me as if the dove from the ark had lighted there. My fear fell from me as if it had been a vaporous garment which dissolved in the warmth. I must take action of some sort whilst the courage of the day is upon me. Last night one of my post-dated letters went to post, the first of that fatal series which is to blot out the very traces of my existence from the earth. Let me not think of it. Action. It has always been at night time that I have been molested or threatened or in some way in danger and fear. I have not yet seen the Count in daylight. Can it be that he sleeps when others wake, that he may be awake whilst they sleep? If I could only get into his room. But there is no possible way. The door is only locked. No way for me to go. Yes, if there is a way, if no one dares to take it, where his body has gone, why? And may not another body go? Leonardo Bella, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome, Harker. I have seen him crawl from his window. Why should I not imitate him and go in by his window? The chances are desperate, but my need is more desperate still. I shall risk it. At the worst, it can only be death, and a man's death is not a calf's, and the dreaded hereafter may still be open to me. God help me in my task. Goodbye, Mina, if I fail. Goodbye, my faithful friend and second father. Goodbye all, and last of all, Mina. Same day later. I have made the effort, and God helping me, have come safely back to this room. I must put down every detail in order. I went whilst my courage was fresh straight to the window on the south side, and once got outside on this side, the stones were bright and roughly cut, and the mortar was by a process of time had been washed away between them. I took off my boots and ventured out on the desperate way. I looked down once so as to make sure that the sudden glimpse of the awful depth would not overcome me, but after that kept my eyes away from it. I know pretty well the direction and distance of the Count's window, and made for it as well as I could. Having regard to the opportunities available, I did not feel dizzy. I suppose I was too excited, and the time seemed ridiculously short, till I found myself standing on the window sill and trying to raise up the sash. I was filled with agitation, however, when I bent down and slid feet foremost in through the window. Then I looked around for the Count, but with surprise and gladness made a discovery. The room was empty. It was barely furnished with odd things which seemed to have never been used. The furniture was something the same style as in the south rooms, and was covered in dust. I looked for the key, but it was not in the lock. I could not find it anywhere. The only thing I found was a heap of gold in one corner. Gold of all kinds, Roman and British and Austrian and Hungarian and Greek and Turkish money, covered with film of dust, and though it had lain long in the ground, none of it, I noticed, was less than 300 years old. There were also chains and ornaments, some jeweled, but all of them old and stained. At one corner of the room there was a heavy door. I tried for it, since I could not find the key of the room or the key of the outer door, which was the main object of my search. I must make further examination of all my efforts would be in vain. It was open, and led down a stone passage to a circular stairway, which went steeply down.
Ayo, thank you so much for dropping by, Big Mac. What is this? Detroit. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. And thank you for the hydrate, though. Have a little bit of water. you were at the hospital. My dear, I hope you're doing okay. I hope your ankle's okay as well. Best wishes, my dear. Mwah. Get well soon, yeah? Yeah, everyone's so stinky today. What the fuck? 420 panel points. Let's go, 420 blazer. What was I up to? I descended, minding carefully where I went, for the stairs were dark, being only lit by loopholes in the heavy masonry. At the bottom there was a dark, tunnel-like passage, through which came a deathly, sickly odour, the odour of old tunnel newly turned. As I went through the passage, the smell grew ajar and heavier. At last I pulled open a heavy door which stood ajar, and found myself in an old ruined chapel, which had evidently been used as a graveyard. The roof was broken, and in 2 places were steps leading to vaults, and the grounds had recently been dug over, and the earth placed in great wooden boxes manifested those that had been brought by the Slovaks. There was nobody about, and I made search over every inch of the ground so as not to lose a chance. I went down even to the vaults, where the dim light struggled, although to do so was a dread to my very soul. Into 2 of these I went, but saw nothing except fragments of old coffins and piles of dust. In the 3rd, however, I made a discovery. Discoveries, how are you doing? There, in one of the great boxes, of which there were around 50 in all, on a pile of newly dug earth, lay the Count. Corrupt politician, welcome in, dear. Thank you so much for the follow. He was either dead or asleep. I could not say, for his eyes were open and stony, but with the glassiness of death, and the cheeks had the warmth of life through all their pallor. The lips were as red as ever, but there was no sign of movement, no pulse, no breath, no beating of the heart. I bent over him and tried to find any sign of life, but in vain. He could not have lain there long, for the earthly smell would have passed away in a few hours. By the side of the box was its cover, pierced with holes here and there. I thought he might have the keys on him, but when I went to look and saw the dead eyes, and in them, dead though they were, such a look of hate, though unconscious of me or my presence, that I fled from the castle. I fled from the place, and leaving the Count's room by the window, crawled again up the castle wall, regaining my room, and threw myself panting upon the bed, and tried to think. 29th of June. Today is the date of my last letter, and the Count has taken steps to prove that it was genuine, for again I saw him leave the castle by the same window, and in my clothes. As he went down the wall, lizard fashion, I wished I had a gun or some lethal weapon, that I might destroy him. But I fear that no weapon wrought along a man's hand would have any effect on him. I dared not wait to see him return, for I feared to see those weird sisters. I came back to the library and read there till I fell asleep. I was awakened by the Count, who looked at me as grimly as a man could look as he said, "Tomorrow, my friend, we must part. You return to your beautiful England, I to some work which may have such an end that we may not never meet. Your letter home has been dispatched. Tomorrow I will not be here, but all shall be ready for your journey. In the morning come the Sizgani, who have many labours of their own here, and also come the Slovaks. When they have gone, the carriage shall come for you, and shall bear you to the Borgo Pass to meet the diligence from Bukovina to Bistrix. But I am in hopes and shall see more of you at Castle Dracula." I suspected him, and determined to test his sincerity. Sincerity. It seemed such a profanation of the word to write it in a connection with such a monster. I asked him point blank, "Why may I not go tonight?" "Oh, because, dear sir, my coachman and horses are away on a mission." "Oh, but I would walk with pleasure. I want to get away at once." He smiled, such a soft, smooth, diabolical smile, and I knew there was some trick beneath his smoothness. He said, "And your baggage?" "I do not care about it. I can send for it some other time." The Count stood up. With sweet courtesy which made me rub my eyes, it seemed so real.
You English have a saying which is close to my heart, which spirit is that which rules our boyars. Welcome the coming, speed the parting guest. Come with me, my dear young friend. Not an hour shall you wait in my house against your will, though sad I am at your going, that you so suddenly desire it. Come. With a stately gravity, he, with the lamp, preceded me down the stairs and along the hall. Suddenly, he stopped. Hark! Close at my hand came the howling of many wolves. It was almost as if the sound sprang up at the rising of his hand, just as the music of a great orchestra seemed to leap under the baton of a conductor. After a moment of pause, he proceeded, in his stately way, to the door, drew back the ponderous bolts, unhooked the heavy chains, and began to draw it open. To my intense astonishment, I saw it was unlocked. Suspiciously, I looked all round, but could see no key of any kind. As the door began to open, the howling of wolves without grew louder and angrier. Their red jaws with clamping teeth and their blunt clawed feet as they leaped came in through the opening door. I knew then that to struggle at the moment against the Count was useless. With such allies as these at his command, I could do nothing. But still the door continued slowly to open, and only the Count's body stood in the gap. Suddenly it struck me that this might be the moment and the means of my doom. I was to be given to the wolves, and at my own instigation. There was a diabolical wickedness in the idea great enough for the Count, and as the last chance I cried out, "Shut the door! I shall wait till morning." And I covered my face with my hands to hide my tears of bitter disappointment. With one sweep of his powerful arm, the Count threw the door shut, and the great bolts clanged and echoed through the hall as they shot back into their place. In silence, we returned to the library, and after a minute or two, I went to my own room, and the last I saw of Count Dracula was his kissing his hand to me, with a red light of triumph in his eyes and the smile that Judas in hell might be proud of. When I was in my room and about to lie down, I thought I heard a whispering at my door, and I went to it softly and listened. Unless my ears deceived me, I heard the voice of the Count. Back to your own place. Your time is not yet come. Wait, have patience. Tonight is mine. Tomorrow is yours." There was a sweet, sweet, low ripple of laughter, and in a rage I threw open the door and saw without the 3 terrible women licking their lips. As I appeared, they all joined in a horrible laugh and ran away. I came back to my room and threw myself on my knees. It is then so near the end. Tomorrow? Lord, help me and to those who are my dear. 30th of June. These may be the last words I ever write in this diary. I slept till just before the dawn, and when I woke, threw myself on my knees, for I determined that if death came, he should find me ready. At last, I felt that subtle change in the air, knew the morning had come. Then came the welcome cockcrow, and felt that I was safe. With a glad heart, I opened the door and ran down the hall. I had seen the door was unlocked, and now escape was before me. With hands that trembled with eagerness, I unhooked the chains and threw back the massive bolts. But the door did not move. Despair seized me. I pulled and pulled at the door and shook it. Massive as it was, it rattled in its casement. I could see the bolt shot. It had been locked after I left the Count. There was a wild desire. The wild desire took me to obtain the key at any risk, and I determined then and there to scale the wall again and gain the Count's room. He might kill me, but death now seemed the happier choice of evils. Without a pause, I rushed up to the east window and scrambled down the wall as before, into the Count's room. It was empty, but that was I expected. I could not see a key anywhere, but the heap of gold remained. I went through the door in the corner and down the winding stair, and along the dark passage to the old chapel. I knew now well enough where to find the monster I sought. The great box was in the same place, against the wall, but the lid was laid on it, not fastened down, but with nails ready in their places to be hammered home. I knew I must reach the body for the key, so I raised the lid and laid it back against the wall. And then I saw something that filled my very soul with horror. There lay the Count, but looking as if his youth had been half restored, for the white hair and mustache had changed to dark iron grey, the cheeks were fuller, and the white skin seemed ruby red underneath. The mouth was redder than ever, for on the lips were gouts of fresh blood, which trickled from the corners of the mouth and ran down over the chin and neck. Even the deep burning eyes seemed set amongst swollen flesh, for the lids and pouches underneath were bloated. It seemed as if the whole awful creature was simply gorged with blood. He lay like a filthy leech, exhausted with his repletion. As I shuddered, I bent over to touch him, and every sense in me revolted at the contact. But I had to search, or I was lost. The coming night might see my own body in a banquet in a similar war to those horrid three. I felt all over the body, but no sign could I find the key. Then I stopped and looked at the Count. There was a mocking smile on the bloated face which seemed to drive me mad. This was the being I was helping to transfer to London, where perhaps for centuries to come he might, amongst its teeming millions, satiate his lust for blood, and create a new and ever-widening circle of semi-demons to batten on the helpless. The very thought drove me mad. A terrible desire came upon me to rid the world of such a monster. But there was no lethal weapon at hand. But I seized a shovel, which the workmen had been using to fill the cases, and lifted it high, struck with the edge downward at the hateful face. But as I did, the head turned, the eyes fell upon me, and with their blaze of basilisk horror, the sight seemed to paralyze me, and the shovel turned in my hand and glanced from my face, merely making a deep gash above the forehead. The shovel fell from my hand across the box, and as it fell away, the flange of the blade caught the edge of the lid, which fell over and hid the horrid thing from my sight. The last glimpse I had was of the bloated face, blood-stained and fixed with a grin of malice, which would have held its own in the nethermost hell. I thought and thought what should be my next move, but my brain seemed on fire, and waited for the despairing feeling growing over me. As I waited, I heard in the distance a G-word song of merry voices coming closer, and through their song the rolling of heavy wheels and cracking of whips. The Siskany and the Slovaks of whom the Count had spoken were coming. With a last look around and at the box which contained his vile body, I ran from the place and gained the Count's room, determined to rush out at the moment the door should be opened. With strained ears I listened and heard the downstairs, the grinding of the key in the great lock, and the falling of the heavy door. There must be in some other means of entry, or someone had a key for one of the locked doors. Then there came the sound of many feet trampling and dying away in some passage, which sent up a clanging echo. I turned to run down again towards the vault, where I might find the new entrance, but at some moment there seemed to be a violent puff of wind, and the door to the winding stair blew to it a shock that set the dust from the lintels flying. When I ran to push it open, I found it was hopelessly fast. I was again a prisoner, and the net of doom was closing round me more closely. As I write, there is a passage below, a sound of many trampling feet, and the crash of weights being set down heavily. Doubtless the boxes with their freight of earth. There was a sound of hammering. It is the box being nailed down. Now I can hear the heavy feet trampling down along the hall, many, many other idle feet coming behind them. The door is shut, the chains rattle, there is a grinding of the key in the lock. I can hear the key withdrawn, then another key opens. and shuts. I hear the creaking of lock and bolt. Hark! In the courtyard and down the rocky way, the roll of heavy wheels, the crack of whips, and the chorus of Sisgany as they pass into the distance. I am alone in the castle with those horrible women. For Mina is a woman, and there is naught in common. They are devils of the pit. I shall not remain alone with them. I should try to scale the castle wall. Further than I have yet attempted. I shall take some of the gold with me, lest I want it later. I may find a way from this dreadful place, and then away for home, away to the quickest and nearest train, away from the cursed spot, from this cursed land where the devil and his children still work with earthly feet. At least God's mercy is better than that of those monsters, and the precipice is steep and high. At its foot a man may sleep as a man. Goodbye all, Mina. Chapter 4. Finn.
Okay, I think we'll end there for today. Thank you so much for dropping by, Laxon. Laxon14, welcome. Thank you so much for the hydrate redeem. Hope you're doing well. I hope you guys enjoyed the readings for today. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Or if you would like to hear more of the sort. I probably won't do the rest of the book on stream, but if you would like to hear more of it, or you would like me to do a full audiobook of it, maybe pop it in the suggestions, let me or my mods know in the Discord. I would love to hear what you think about the idea. We'll be hosting more events in the upcoming Spooktober season. We'll be watching The Conjuring this week for our Discord movie night, so feel free to join the Discord for that. We're also hosting a murder mystery for which the second clue will be released at the end of this very stream. And thank you so much, S Intalkable, for the follow. Welcome in. Let me find somebody to raid. Bim. Yeah, make sure to keep an eye out. Let me find an ASMR person. Asthma. Can I please find an asthma person? Dealer's choice. Yeah, would you like a trick or a treat, Fulu? Ayo, someone's having a 2-year celebration. Let's raid Fairy Geo. And Protonic, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. So cute. A trick? Wrong choice there, wrong choice. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today though, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much everyone for the raids and for the support. Let me know if you enjoyed this little session today. I really appreciate it. Mwah. Hope you had all a very good time. If you were interested in more of my ASMR content, I also have a Patreon where I upload monthly audios and other special things. Lisa Faith is stinky as fuck. Thanks for stream, guys. I hope you had fun. My. Today is gonna be the day that we're gonna do ASMR. Thanks for joining us in the stream. We're gonna rate somebody now. I'm sorry, this is so lame. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads you have to walk are winding, and all the lights that lead us there are blinding. There are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. So thank you so much for the raids and for the stream and for my patrons for supporting me. I need to add more names to the patron list. Let me know if you like this content so I can do more of it. Maybe And after all, you're my wonder. Wow. See you tomorrow for ASMR Labs. Mwah. Bye bye.